Are we live? We're live! Good morning and welcome to the Sunrise Safari. I'm sorry, I was listening to updates on our radio to hear the various positions of the animals and the plans for the morning. Guess what I just did? Oh, and by the way, this is your pre-show to the live safari where we head out in the blackest depths of the morning to go and search for exciting things to show you. Look, it's very dark out there. Dave, are we going to get damp this morning? Are you on the back of my vehicle, Dave? This time around. I got halfway across quarantine and I got this... Brent was talking to me at the same time and I just heard this mystery voice going, Jamie, 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 Jamie. At which point Lou pointed out that I didn't have anybody on the back of my vehicle. I left you behind. It's the first time I've ever done that. I'm really sorry. See, this light sits right underneath us there. So when I look back, I can't see Dave or the camera at all when it's dark like this. So I had next to no idea. I was wondering why Dave was being so quiet. I was wondering if I'd done something to offend him. Now I really have done something to offend him. It's disastrous. I thought that was just Brent's trick. At least I didn't go as far as Brent did. He went all the way to up Gallagher shortcut before he realized. We could hear him laughing all the way from camp when he left Genre behind. Oh, I'm sorry, Dave. I didn't know you'd snuck off. You melted into the darkness and I just drove off, all excited for the morning. Apparently my excitement got the better of me because I'm not entirely sure how I was planning on doing a show minus a camera operator. That would have been very boring because you would have been staring at the back of my head for the entire drive. Okay, Dave. Now that we've recovered from that indignity, see, now I can see you because the sun's come up slightly. I can just see the top of your head bobbing about. I was getting so irritated as well because somebody was trying to talk to me while Brent was trying to talk to me and there were two different voices in my ear. We just made it. Our last night, and I'll tell the story again once everybody's joined us. Last night at about 2 o'clock in the morning, I don't know what the hyenas were doing. They were either fighting or mating, but they were doing it right outside our bedroom, and the screams, it was like something out of how I imagined the 7 circles of hell in the Inferno. They were making such a racket. And I mean, I could sleep, I generally sleep quite well. There was no way. And what it did was, as it started to sort of infiltrate my dreams, is it turned my dream, whatever dream I was having, into some kind of nightmare before I woke up and realized what was going on outside my window. And we went searching for them, but it was dark, we didn't have torches with us. And we decided discretion was the better part of valor in case one of them was trapped up against the fence or something. So we never actually saw them, but we certainly heard them. Apparently it's 20 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Not with this wind. It's definitely lower than that with this wind. The wind is howling. Taylor's on bushwalk and she's going to have to stick out of the thickets this morning. It's freezing. It's chilly, isn't it, Dave? Not just me. It's quite ominous. Good hunting weather. The reason I was so involved with listening to the Game Drive radio was because apparently somebody reported wild dogs just to the north of our boundary. Hopefully they're going to come bounding down to the south and we can have some fun with them like we did yesterday.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
It's dark and ominous, windy, cloudy, a morning full of potential predators. This is Safari Live. Ready?
Standing by.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Good morning, and welcome to a cold, windy Djuma private game reserve. It's only about 20 degrees Celsius, 60 Fahrenheit, and for us African children, that is cold. And with the wind, it doesn't really help. My name is Brent Leo Smith. I have the man of many words, Batman. Say something, Batman. What up? There we go. And a little giggle from Craig. Remember, if you want to talk to us, hashtag safariLIVE. Now, my morning's plan started off, I was going to check our western boundary for any sign of the Inkahumas coming back, but I threw that plan out of the window when I heard there's a possibility of 15 wild dogs heading towards our northern boundary last night. So we're going to zip around towards Sydney's waterhole, check the Buffelshoek cut line, fingers crossed that my favorite animal is going to come for a visit. Now, in this half light we've got at the moment, this is about the time in the morning when the wild dogs start moving. Remember, they are crepuscular animals. Crepuscular means most active at dusk and dawn. So this is when they get going. It's windy. It's good hunting weather for all of the predators. So fingers crossed we're going to have a little bit of lady luck on our side this time. And let's keep going. Unfortunately, what this wind does do is put some serious dents in my birding plans, and the wind is not good for birds, and we are just under 60 species, so which means I've got to get 40 by Sunday. That's quite the challenge, but don't worry, we'll be up to it. Batman, you better be quick on that camera today. I want all your Batman skills. I've actually been thinking about printing out the Batman sign that we can put over across the lens. A little cutout Batman for when Craig's on camera. What do you think, Craig? Huh. Okay, let's go say good morning to Jamie.
I think that's genius. I think that would be absolutely hilarious. A very good morning to all of you and welcome to the Sunrise Safari. My name is Jamie, and this morning I'd have devastated Dave. Thankfully. Devastated Dave, devastated because I left him at home this morning and had to go back and fetch him. Not my fault. Light was shining, didn't know he'd got off the vehicle. I had no idea. I just wondered why he'd been so quiet. So this morning, our plans are, it absolutely is excuses, Lou, and it's a truly inexcusable offense. I feel absolutely wretched. I swore I'd never do that. Obviously involved in the excitement of the morning, eager to get out and about. Now this morning my plans will probably change depending upon what those wild dogs do. We might go and race across to help Brent follow up on them if they come across to us. However, before that, I want to go to the hyena den. I want to find out what on earth prompted the yowling, howling, screaming something that was happening last night outside of our bedroom window at 2 o'clock in the morning. They were so vocal, and I don't quite know how. I don't know how they got into our, first of all, how they got into outside of our bedroom window, because the house that we live in is now fenced. It didn't used to be properly, but now it's fenced and there's a gate. And the gate was shut and the fence was there, but somehow they were having such a screaming, either argument or they were mating. I'm not quite 100% sure. I have to tell you that things are a bit fuzzy at 2 o'clock in the morning, especially when you know you've got to be up in another 2 hours. But they were making an absolute racket, and there's tracks everywhere. So the best way for us to try and figure out what was going on, because they're not still going to be there, is to go and check the hyena den and see if we can see, perhaps some of the other adults will come and visit Ribbon in her den. Maybe it was Ribbon herself. Not if they were mating, obviously, but maybe it was Ribbon involved in an argument. Our first thought was that it sounded like either a male or a submissive hyena, low-ranking female, being beaten up. And then I don't know, there wasn't quite enough aggression in the sounds. And then, of course, every time after they sort of finished the screaming, then they'd both break into woo, woo, woo. It wasn't the proper sort of territorial whooping call that we associate with hyenas. It was very rapid, woo, 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 and loud. There was no sleeping through that. And if you'd like to know anything more about our traumatic and loud hyena experience, you can send that through on #safariLIVE on Twitter. It wasn't actually that traumatic. It was just an odd time of the morning for that to have occurred. But I can't go to the hyena den yet because it's too dark. The last time I made that mistake, Dave and myself sat there in blackness for a good half an hour. And on a cloudy morning, the sun's going to take a while to pop out. There we go. So Bill heard them last night on the dam camera and that they were very loud. They were. So the dam camera sits probably about 300 or so yards from where we heard them when they were right next to us. So you can imagine the volume, and they might then have gone past the dam camera. I don't know if any of you actually saw anything on the dam camera, if you saw a hyena come through. I thought for one moment, just before we went live, I thought maybe they might have encountered the wild dogs, but then I realized we didn't hear any sounds of wild dogs, and they're equally vocal when they're fighting hyenas, so it wasn't them. It's all very confusing. Stephanie, good morning to you. I have not forgotten about Gwen, and you want to know if there's any updates on her. And the answer is no. I've checked her den site ever since it was no longer soggy enough to check. And that warthog, the last time I checked it, that huge male warthog that's been in there for a while, he was on his way back to settling himself in for the night. That was 2 days ago when we stopped off at Chitwa Dam, and then I popped past, and he was on his way back into her old den site. So she's not there. As to where she is, I'm afraid we don't know. I've checked the other old den sites routinely when I go past, when my route takes me past there, and I haven't seen any sign of her. I don't know where she's gone, to be completely honest with you, which is a pity, because as the older those hyena cubs get, the harder it's going to be to habituate them, which is quite sad. I guess our dreams of habituating them might have been dashed. Sorry, I'm just listening. Let me just turn it down. Now, Lara Moore, you want to know if perhaps a response like that could have been provoked by the presence of a predator, a lion or a leopard. Will they alarm call at them? No, not really. Generally, when they approach things like leopards, they're quite silent, unless they are gathering together in a group to steal a lion's kill away from them, or perhaps to steal a leopard's kill away, and they're in a group. Then you might start to hear the vocalizations, but it's a very different sound to the ones that we were hearing last night. Most of the time when they're doing that, it's a giggling, laughing sound. It's that very high-pitched laughter that they make when they're excited or nervous. It's a sort of a tittering. What we heard last night was flat-out screaming. It was not, there was no submissive giggling or anything like that. Or not much anyway. Otherwise they won't alarm call at predators if they see them walking past. They'll lurk quietly. Even with lions on a kill, you might see a hyena come trotting in, have a look, and then move off. Now I'm going to go search for these leopard cubs while I bide my time waiting for it to get a bit lighter. Let's go and see whether Brent's had any luck with his dogs this morning and what his plans are.
Well, we've got one impala all by itself, looking very jumpy. As of course we know, impala normally herd animals, and when you start finding a single scattered impala, that's always a good sign. I can't smell the dogs yet, but of course this could have happened last night. They could have gone down somewhere to the north and left the impala scattered all over the place. You can see how jumpy this young boy is. Now, of course, he could just be jumpy because of this horrible wind. Your prey species really don't like the wind. And of course now, we've got to that stage now where spotlight is redundant, and I've just got to go very, very slowly, especially on this road. It's very hard to make sure we don't miss any tracks. Rexon's checking from further to the east. Now, of course, at this time of the morning, the dogs should already be up and about and on the move. So we just got to keep our eyes very much peeled. Okay, so there's a big herd of impala over there. They look okay. Can just make them out. You can barely see them. Craig can really barely see them. You can see one, but there we go. The rest of the herd's off to the left. And they're looking a little bit more relaxed than the one we saw, so maybe he just got chased by one of the other males. Of course, what makes wild dogs so incredibly difficult to follow is the fact that they are coursing predators, which means that they basically just run through an area till they spot something and then give chase. Now, there's been quite a lot of discussion about wild dog hunting tactics, and the initial sort of studies on wild dogs were done in places like the Serengeti, and they have very different hunting strategies and far more sort of rigid, with dogs taking over from dogs, and sort of a planned, not a planned hunt, but a coordinated hunt. Whereas in bushveld like this, that doesn't work because they can't maintain visual contact with each other. So basically it's just a bombshell hunt. And in open grasslands and areas like that, their hunting success rate is much higher, probably around the 80% mark, than in this area, where you probably find it's around the 50-60% mark, which is still incredibly high. Now, a lot of kills we miss. Even when you're following, especially a big pack of dogs, they kill a lot of tiny things that are gone in a matter of seconds. Scrub hares, duikers, steenbok, where literally it'll take 2 or 3 dogs less than a minute to just engulf that whole animal. While with a scrub hare, it takes less than a second. Just. Now, it is the breeding season for wild dogs at the moment, so we started to see some behavior the last time we saw the Sabi Sands pack. The male was sniffing around the alpha male, and attempted to mount a few times. So this is the mating season for the dogs. She will then give birth in towards the end of May, and fingers crossed we get a wild dog den this year. That would be most exciting. I think there'll be a fight between all the presenters to who gets to go to the wild dog den every morning. Now, cam ops are not going to like me if we do get a wild dog den, because I'll make sure we're there half an hour to 45 minutes before there's even a glimmer of light in the sky, because you've got to be at that den at sort of that early light period where there's sort of a half light as the dogs get moving, because otherwise you don't know where they're gonna go. You looking forward to that, Craig? Hunters wondering, will a single impala be easier to take down, or will they have a better success rate with a larger herd? Well, with a larger herd, the odds are always a bit higher because there's more animals to chase, and especially in the thicker bush where everything's sort of bombshells, quite often the dogs will actually catch multiple animals. The most impala I've seen caught in one chase was 6, and that was to a very big pack in Botswana. There were 32 dogs in that pack. and the most I've seen in the Sabi Sands in one go was 4. But the most impala I've seen die in a single morning was 12, and they were all babies, and that was in the Sabi Sands. To what is now the Sabi Sands pack, when they started out, there were only 4 of them. They were a new dispersal pack, and they denned in the sands for the first time in about 15 years, and that was in about 2006 or 2007. Rachel is wondering, are wild dogs more closely related to coyotes or wolves? And the answer is to neither. Coyotes and wolves are quite closely related to each other and quite closely related to the domestic dog. So they all fall under the genus Canis, whereas wild dogs fall under the genus Lichen. They separated about between 1.6 and 1.8 million years ago. They are unable to breed with any of the Canis family, so they are complete separate species in their own right. Now they've got modified dentition, their teeth are designed for ripping rather than chewing, and they've even got an extra toe, so they're their own complete separate species. Of course they do share a common ancestor a long time ago. In terms of the Canis family, so they still fall under the sort of the family Canidae, which encompasses all the sort of dog species from wolves, coyotes, dingoes, dows, domestic dogs, jackals. What else am I missing? I think that's about all of them. Yeah, so we're going to keep crawling along here in this low light and the hard road. We don't want to miss a track. So while I focus on staring at the sand, let's see how Jamie's plans are unfolding.
Cursory check in answer to Brent's question about our plans for the morning. I did a cursory check of the area where we left the leopard cubs yesterday evening, and we'll go into that a little bit more in a moment. But as Brent says, this low light, it's very difficult to see tracks, so I've actually left that area for now. There's no sign of them exactly where we left them, and I don't want to go and drive over the tracks before it's had enough time to lighten up so that we can see. I also suspect, because Karula went south into Little Gowrie yesterday, I suspect she's probably killed something during the course of the evening, and she's probably gone to fetch the cubs and taken them south. But I'll double check that a bit later when it gets a bit lighter. For now, it's light enough at least for us to start making our way to the hyena den. Speaking of our leopard cubs, I had to feel for Taylor, and I had to have a little bit of a laugh as well yesterday evening when she was trying to do the school drive. And I think the ages of the kids were around about 7 to 10. And it's always, obviously we try and give the kids the most natural, realistic view of the world that they're seeing. But when Hosanna climbed onto Shongile's back and started basically imitating adult mating behavior, I felt a little bit for poor Taylor. She tried to describe it as wrestling. And it's perfectly natural what they're doing. It's just a natural expression of hormones. But Taylor's repeated affirmations that they were just wrestling was very entertaining. It was interesting though, watching him and her display the exact behavior that they will one day when it comes time for them to be fully sexually mature. He was grabbing hold of the back of her neck. He had all of the instincts. Obviously he's not ready to mate yet. It's just all leopards do that. All animals do it. It's not just a dominance display, it's natural imitation of adult behavior. The same way little hyena cubs anal paste around the den site. It's part of their natural instinct. But it was badly timed, Hosanna. Very, very badly timed, in the middle of our school drive. Yes. Naughty Hosanna. And Shongile also knew exactly that instinct had started to kick in, knew what was expected of her. So our little ones are growing up fast. We've got to enjoy as much time as we can with them before they start to vanish off their respective ways. It was very entertaining. And generally we try and speak to the teachers beforehand. If we know, for example, we're going into a sighting with mating lions, or if we're going into a sighting where they're feeding off a kill or something, just to get the teachers to warn their kids. But it's the natural part of filming wildlife, is sometimes you actually can't warn the kids. And some of them, obviously, seeing a kill or something like that is quite sensitive. We try to teach that they can forewarn the kids beforehand, but there was no forewarning them that time. And it's difficult to explain it to kids when it concerns, when you've just introduced the two leopards as brother and sister. Hey, look at that! Beautiful, beautiful skies. Looks as though the clouds are parting. The storm clouds last night were absolutely enormous, and then they all just blew straight past us. The wind was just too fast. Okay, we're not going to linger though. No time to look at the sunrise this morning. We're going to the hyena den. Let's go and see if we can at least puzzle together a little bit of what was happening last night. My money's on mating. I think that's what was going on. It would be the perfect time for actually any one of our females to come back into estrus, except for Ribbon, obviously, with her cubs, and Gwen with hers. Sorry, everybody. Just want to chat to Herbie in a moment. Michael, you want to know, is it normal for hyenas to be that vocal when mating? There is a lot of vocalizations, particularly when the males are trying to signal their intentions to the females. And often the females, there's the potential for the females to get quite aggressive with them if they overstep the boundary. And it might even have been two males fighting over a female, or arguing over a female. So that would be a natural part. Spotted hyenas are vocal creatures, and most of their social interactions have some kind of vocalization. So yes, totally normal. Here we go. Den sight time. Herbie for Jamie. Morning, Herbie. Just to let you know, I didn't check properly for the Karulas Mumpy Buns. I just did a quick check around and then carried on. Copy. Just letting Herbie know that because it was so dark, we didn't fully investigate. No flies. It's too windy for you. Go away. Lots and lots of hyena tracks. That's to be expected. It could just be Ribbon wandering up and down. We might see some more of the hyenas here. That's what I'm hoping for. As much as I love sitting with Ribbon and her cubs, it would be nice to see some interaction with the rest of the clan as well. I think I see a spotty figure lying at the entrance to the den. Everybody duck. I don't see a spotty figure. After all that, I imagined it. Nobody home there. Let's see if she's lying in one of her favorite spots. No, doesn't look like it. Let's just sit quietly for a second, see if the cubs pop out. I've stopped here deliberately just because there's a bush between us and the entrance, so they can feel a little bit safer. Alright, now the fact that the mom isn't here means that we'll leave the hyena den for now, go back and search for those leopard cubs. In the meantime, while we sit quietly and patiently, let's head back over to Brent and see how he's doing.
Well, we're still creeping. We've probably only covered about 200 meters since you last were with us. The road is that hard that I'm just really don't want to miss the tracks. I think it's just erosion, but where are my binoculars? Hiding under my rain jacket, which I'm probably not going to need today. It just looks like it could be something. Oh, it's just a funny dead branch. I thought it could be a wild dog ear. Remember, hashtag safariLIVE if you've got any questions for us. But while you think up your questions, I've got a question for you. And the question for you is, let's keep it on the wild dogs. Where is the largest free roaming, or the largest population of wild dogs in Africa? If you know the answer to that, hashtag safariLIVE. Where is the largest population of wild dogs in Africa? Mean R would like to know what makes the ideal denning site for wild dogs. Well, a very similar set of criteria to a hyena. So they den in disused aardvark burrows, in termite mounds. Quite often they like to choose an area where the lion activity is not too heavy. And hyenas they don't mind so much, but the biggest killer of wild dogs is lions. So they try den in an area where the lion activity isn't too heavy, and if lion activity picks up in an area, they might even move the den. So they'll den for about 3 months, 3.5 months, sometimes up to 4 months, and during that time they'll move the den 3 or 4 times due to the fact that they are very smelly, so their position becomes quite well known, but mostly due to parasites like fleas. And if you ever walk up to a wild dog den, or even a hyena den that they've just vacated, you get absolutely mauled by fleas. Of course, there's no dip or shampoo for them out here to keep the ticks and fleas off. So the way they control that is by moving dens. There we go. Our first, oh no, it's not. We had some impala, but there we go. There's a wildly beast. Hello, Gnu. And the one thing that's quite tricky on these windy mornings is we face the same problem a lot of the prey species do. We often rely on our ears for us to be able to locate animals, and with this wind, our ears become a little bit redundant. Especially with wind that gusts like this, because you might hear something in a sort of lull between the wind, and then you can't pinpoint it when the wind gusts again. Okay, so I'm going to hedge my bets that I'm pretty sure, I mean, I've checked this road very, very carefully, very, very slowly, that the dogs might still be in the north. So I'm going to have a quick chat to Rexon. Rex. Rex, I'm approaching Mvubu. I can't see any sign of Nkonzo. They might still be in the north. So Rex is crossed just here. He's heading back to the last position where they were seen, and he's asked us to keep checking the boundary because they could have easily kept going east. And there's a road inside Buffelshoek that runs parallel to us. Copy. Thanks, Rex. So Rex is over there at the moment, and you can see that's called Long Pole, and that's where our radio repeater sits. You can see the antenna. There it is. So that's where Rex is checking now. And there's a road that runs parallel to Buffelshoek cut line from that repeater. Hi, Holly. Holly, good guess, but no dice. Holly says, is it the Okavango Delta? No, it's not. It is one of the larger meta-populations of dogs out there, the northern Botswana complex that covers from the Okavango Delta through to Chobe into Wangi, but it is not the largest population. Now, the largest population is over 1,000 individuals. There's only 3,500 left in the whole of Africa, so it is going to be a very big area. There's a little hint. Hello, Chai Connie, and another good guess. Chai Connie says Namibia, and it's not. So Namibia is a little bit, most of Namibia is a little bit too dry. You only really get good populations of dogs in the Caprivi Strip, and those fall within the same population of dogs that come from Botswana and Zimbabwe in that Okavango, Chobe, Wangi area. So the rest of Namibia is a little bit too dry for them. They do occur in quite a lot of places, but if you think most of the south and west of Namibia is proper desert, so not ideal country for the dogs. Guillermo says, is it Zambia? Now, Zambia has got another one of the largest meta populations, but it's not the one. The North and South Kafue and the game management areas around there have the second largest population of wild dogs in Africa, but not the largest. Oh, guys, I thought you'd be a bit more on the ball this morning. Well, we're going to let you ponder where the largest population of wild dogs in the wild is. While we do that, we have a very loud birdie who wants to say good morning.
I'm not feeling so loud this morning, Brent. I think the wind is going to drown out the sound of my voice, which may make a couple of you happy. But good morning. Nonetheless, my name is Taylor. On camera with me is Brian. The thumb is here too, but he is sleeping in this morning on a bushwalk. He's not too fond of bushwalks. And then, of course, Herbie is our mighty protector today, our extra pair of eyes and ears keeping us safe. Now, as you've seen, and I'm sure Brent and Jamie have spoken about it for quite some time now, is that it is exceptionally windy. We had a windstorm. I don't even know if that's a thing, but one of those came over us last night and was rustling all of the leaves, and it hasn't quite let up just yet. So our plan today was to see if we can go and find the leopards. Jamie said that she has gone to have a quick look around. She didn't see much. However, on bushwalk, as you know, we're closer to the ground. It's much easier for us to spot tracks, especially in this really, really dull light. So that's what our plan is going to be today. However, I've just spotted a large herd of impala and some zebra in the distance. And I did see, I don't know if it was Jamie or Brent that were over there, but I saw them just drive past. Now, a couple of afternoons ago, you may remember Brian and I had the most unbelievable experience with a herd of zebra, and they were so relaxed. Our conditions are really good though. We didn't have much wind. It was during the day, it was in the afternoon, so good light. We're going to see if we can do another approach on them and see how they react to us. However, I suspect that their personalities and their moods and their behavior is going to be a little bit different today with all of this wind in play. But let's start heading towards them. They're actually still quite far away. It may take us about 5 or so minutes to eventually get there. So what we're doing at the moment and we're walking towards them. Once we get past a group of trees, we'll probably move out to the open. We're not going to try and hide ourselves. They're going to know we're here. We do have the wind in our favor though, so you never know. I found that with those zebra, it was actually good not to try and conceal yourself and show yourself that, hi, we're here, we're just having a look, rather than hiding behind the bushes, acting very much like a predator, which could then startle them and make them run off. I don't know if we're going to have as good of an approach as we did the other day. You can really see there's one or two impala that have spotted us with their exceptional eyesight. But no, there we go, look, now they're running. Very, very jumpy today, and that is going to be the behavior of all the animals. They're actually watching Herbie, but let's see, maybe the zebra don't react to the impala once they see who it is that those antelope are running from. It could change a little bit, but this of course is a live interactive safari, so if you have any questions for us, hashtag safariLIVE on Twitter, and we'll be happy to answer any of your questions. And we're going to hear a lot of alarm calls just now because I can see all the crowned lapwings moving about in the long grass. They're going to give us away. Try, Connie, you're wondering what do I like most about the summer? I think my favorite thing is to see this entire rejuvenation of the bush after the winter months, and particularly coming out of a drought. I haven't seen a drought as bad as the one we experienced in this area. So for me, that was the highlight, was seeing the rain, seeing all this vegetation, and seeing the animals healthy again. You know, it's really great when you do have droughts and things, because you get to see different things. You get to see an abundance of predators, lots of lions, lots of leopards, and definitely plenty of hyena. We even saw quite a few cheetah down on the south, and it just was very sad coming around every single corner, and of course seeing emaciated buffalo and hippos. There's those lapwings that are now shouting at us. They didn't give us too much of a shout, which was good. So that for me is one of the worst things to see out here. Now it's fantastic. So yeah, just the rejuvenation, the new shoots of grass popping up after the first rains. And as you know, it doesn't really take too much. Other than that, maybe also seeing the migratory birds coming back. There's a whole lot of things, and I think it's hard to just like one thing when you're in the bush. You've got to like quite a few different things that come through. The insects. Today, I don't think we're going to see very many insects. It's actually quite cold. You can see on a bushwalk I have a jersey on, which is unusual for any of us to wear a jersey on the bushwalk. But yes, it is chilly, chilly, chilly. The change of season is definitely upon us now. Okay, I can just start to see the zebra and impala. Let's stop here. We'll have a look just from this distance and see how they react. I'm talking, they probably can't smell me, but they can definitely see me now. A couple of the impala moving off, and it doesn't seem like the zebra have reacted at all. We can just see their rear ends. Oh, there we go, we've got a head popped up to have a look, to see what the impala are all going on about. But at least they're not running away from us just yet. And as I say that, then they start. We'll keep going towards them, have a look. We'll change our direction though. Now that they've seen us, we're not going to walk directly towards them, because that's very much what a predator would do. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk at a right angle towards them. So let's go sort of to the south now. And you just walk, like I said, don't stalk, don't crawl low in the grass. If this is my opinion, of course, with animals like this that are out in the open, because if they do know you're here and it is a nice day, probably just going to not just look at you, maybe snort, maybe move a little bit away from you. And eventually, the more and more they see you, the more used to you they will get. Oh, the impala are not happy. We'll leave the impala though. Miss Katie Rizzolo, you're wondering how close have I been to a zebra on foot? So the zebra are not moving off. But I don't think it's because of us. I think they're just watching the impala and moving because the impala are now moving. There you go, you can see them. So the closest I've ever been was actually just the other afternoon. We started off, I can't even remember, we must have been about 60, 70 yards away from the zebra. They then started moving a little bit closer towards us, which was really unbelievable. I was quite shocked. So I said to Brian, well, let's go to the next bit of shade. Like I said, out in the open, not trying to hide ourselves. We actually spoke to each other and made our presence obvious. And they look, one of them looked at us, didn't seem too bothered. So we stopped at about 40 yards and I couldn't believe it. That's the closest I'd ever been. Then they came towards us, and I kid you not, they must have been about 25 yards away from us, interacting. The stallion came back with a couple of mares. They all joined right in front of our eyes. They groomed each other. There's Jamie. Hi, Jamie. Hi, David. How's it going? It's cold this morning. Yeah. Hello. Brian doesn't need a jersey though, he's a man. Are you freezing cold? We'll have to do a couple of laps. We'll see if we can sneak up a little bit closer. We'll just see how these animals react over here. I can't see them anymore. They've now disappeared beyond our view. Where are they gone? I can just see the impala. Let me take a few steps back. I can still see them. They haven't really moved too much. Let's go a little bit closer. Let's try it out. Let's see what they're gonna do. Okay, well, we're gonna try. We'll hang around. Hopefully they'll get a bit used to us with this wind. But I'm gonna send you across to Brent now, who has got the largest African mammal.
Now, you've got to be very, very careful with elephants in this weather. They can be very jumpy in the wind. And already just looking at some of the animals around us, and this is a big herd, there's 50 plus animals here, and some of them are already showing a bit of signs of agitation. So we're hanging on the edge with the teenage boys. Hey, Trouble. Oh, look at Trouble in front of us. You can just see they're not 100% comfortable. You can see how he's walking at an oblique angle away from us, but still keeping his eyes on us. Look at that female up ahead. You can see not very happy in this weather. Now, as you can see, those massive tusks sticking out, that's probably the reason. Coupled with the wind, there is a big bull here. So we've stayed quite far back from the main center of the herd, and I'm just waiting to watch and gauge their reactions before we move any closer. Strong winds. Elephants really don't like them. The fact that there's a big bull here is also a thing. They could be quite agitated. So the cows and calves that I have seen are not looking very happy. Oh, he is a massive bull. He's coming out into the road. He's probably just over, I'd say, around 40. So his tusks are just starting to thicken, but he has got beautiful tusks. And you can see he's right tusked. His right tusk is quite a bit shorter than his left. Now, am I going to have a word with you, mister? Are you going to be full of nonsense today? Oh, that female is very, very uncomfortable. One with the young calf there. Even when other elephants are getting near her, she's showing signs of distress. Her tail is slightly extended. Look at that lifted head. Oh, here comes Trouble. Hello, big boy. Are we going to have a talking today? I don't like the way you're walking. You're walking like you've got a bit of attitude. Now, remember, I'll sort you out. So you just got to be very cautious in this windy weather. You are beautiful. Don't you even think about it. He's thinking about turning towards us and maybe shaking his head at us. You can just see that sort of stride. It's okay. No trouble today, please. Yes, that's a good boy. Eat some marulas. Eat some marulas. Standing by Rex, I've got a very nice big Klambewind with a big Makulu bull on Buffelshoek Cutline, just to the east of Gari Cutline. Look at that. Isn't he magnificent? Copy, thanks Rex. So Rex has just given me an update on those dogs there. The tracks are heading parallel to us. He is a beautiful big boy. He still looks like he's got a little bit of naughtiness in him. Are you trying misdirection? I'm just eating the marula, but I actually want to come shake my head and tell you how big I am. Yeah, don't lift your head up like that. I know what you're doing. So it's often very small little hints with elephants that give away what they're thinking. So the way they hold their bodies. Now, I'm not going to get Craig to move because there's another elephant quite close to us, behind us. No, keep still. Stay on him. And she's actually snuck right up. She's keeping a bush between us and she's smelling us. Okay, it's okay, girl. Here we go. Walk away. Good girl. Okay, she's going away. Now, you've got to be very vigilant with elephant herds. You've got to make sure you're looking around 360 degrees at all times, because they can sneak up on you so quietly, and especially with this wind, we're not really going to hear them coming. But she's fine now. She's moved away. She came and smelt us, decided we weren't a threat. And you, mister? You just keep chewing your marula branch. Let's not have words this morning. Yes. So even now he's still holding his head quite high, but his body language is relaxing a bit. Now Susan's wondering how tall is an adult elephant bull. Well, he's probably about 4.2 meters at the shoulder. So absolutely massive. It can be a little bit bigger. He's actually quite tall. Maybe he's a little bit more than 4.2. Now, the Kruger elephants and the Tembe elephants in South Africa, these guys are the biggest bodied and tallest elephants in Africa. I'm watching you. There's no way you're getting away with any nonsense this morning. Now, I'm just keeping, as I said, you got to keep looking around. There's about 50, 60 elephants in this area. They're all very spread out. So I'm just keeping an eye out on all sides. Yes, so, oh, here it comes. Ready for it? Oh, I thought he was gonna give us a good head shake there. Pradeep is wondering, is the size of an elephant's tusk anything to do with the status in the herd? Not really. Body size goes for a long way. So, of course, longer tusks do have an advantage with fighting, but as they get older, long tusks actually become a massive disadvantage, because as that last set of teeth is worn out, and they've got to carry around that massive extra weight. Oh, is he going to go harass the ladies? Let's just go forward a little bit. I think that's exactly what he's going to do. No. The ladies look like they shunned him. So there's one of the ladies who came up and smelt us very closely, making sure we weren't a threat to her. Decided we weren't. So I just say that we've got to be very careful with the fact that there's this big bull hanging around, coupled with this windy weather. Now, elephants rely heavily on their smell. So, of course, in windy weather like this, it can be quite compromised. So it's a lovely herd, though. I hope they hang around. Let me just turn around. Asida is asking, how fast can an elephant run? Well, the answer is faster than Usain Bolt. Now, they can get up to about 50 kilometers an hour, but the difference is they can maintain that for quite a long way. So you can't outrun an elephant. So if you happen to be on foot like Taylor and you encountered an elephant, what you do is you actually stand your ground. You don't run. It's a rule out here in the bush. Whatever you do, don't run, because if you run, you're behaving like prey or something that can be squished. So quite often, to stop an elephant charge on foot, you stand your ground, you shout, throw your hat, lots of different tricks to do that. Now, it looks like the bull has decided he's getting no love from the ladies, and he might go off on his own mission. Now, big bulls will often be by themselves or in small bachelor groups. And there he is, he's disappearing down there. A little bit to the left, there he is. Keep a lookout on the Djuma Dam cam. He might pop out. He is heading sort of in that direction. Now the rest of the herd is very spread out around us. There's some more off to the right. Lauren is wondering, why do elephants react to a loud noise or a raised voice? Well, it's something a bit different, the tone of the voice, and also you must remember elephants communicate with sound. So it's that raised aggressive sound which they're probably not expecting. They expect everything to be quite scared of them and run away. So it's just changing it up a little bit, something that they don't expect, and probably creates a bit of doubt. Why isn't this thing running? Maybe it knows something I don't know. Maybe it's dangerous. I'm out here. Now, you can use your voice to control quite a few different animals. You do it with lions if they charge on foot. You do it with leopards, rhino, hippo. Your voice is one of the most important tools you have out in the bush. Now, this herd's moving off, and I say in this weather, there's a big bull here, there's wind. Most of the herd are showing signs of not being comfortable with us, and we've had a very nice sighting, so I'm definitely not going to push my luck in this weather. So we're going to keep going on. We're going to go see if those wild dogs haven't possibly crossed further to the east of us. As that grey bottom disappears, it seems like guys are still struggling. My Life in Africa says the biggest population is in Greater Kruger. It's not. It's actually one of the smallest populations, and one of the populations is sort of under threat genetically, so far as in the fact that people like the Endangered Wildlife Trust will introduce new genetic strains of dogs from other areas into the area to ensure that the population doesn't become stagnant from inbreeding. So it used to be, probably, but what happened in this area is that, and a lot of people will find this quite difficult to believe, that the Kruger originally, when it was formed, the Kruger National Park, or the Sabi Game Reserve as it was first, and lions, leopards, hyenas and wild dogs, cheetah were all shot on sight to protect the impala, wildebeest, zebra, etc. So they were considered vermin and were shot on sight. And that, coupled with a really, really low tolerance to diseases such as rabies and distemper, because they're such highly social animals, those diseases spread through the pack very quickly, is what has given the wild dog population a tough time in the Greater Kruger. Now, it got up to about 500 in the mid-2000s, and then there was a rabies outbreak that brought it down to just over 100, and it's now increasing to about 350. So still, they reckon 400 to 500 dogs is what's considered to be a viable breeding genetic population. So hopefully the Kruger dogs will keep on increasing as we go on. Well done to Mike. Mike has got the country correct. It is indeed in Tanzania. It is in the Selous Game Reserve. 5.2 million hectares. So over 10 million acres, mostly of these wonderful sand rivers that crisscross the Brachystegia woodland. It is one of the largest game reserves in the world, and it is also has the largest population of African wild dogs anywhere. That, coupled with the corridor that connects Nyasa in Mozambique, that northern Mozambique, southern Tanzania, has about 1,400, 1,500 dogs, so the largest population in the world. Now, of course, it's quite difficult to gauge populations, because a lot of these areas are really, really difficult to get into, and not many people get into them, but that's probably why they are got these wonderful populations of these animals. I've been lucky enough to live down in the Selous and had many wonderful wild dog encounters while I was there. Okay, we're going to keep going, and while we do that, let's go see how Madam McCurdy's hair is blowing in the wind.
I've got it all tied up today, lots and lots of clips to keep it under control. Now, we had to leave the zebra and the impala, just because the impala were not behaving accordingly this morning. They were leaping about and racing away, and it was definitely influencing the zebra's behavior. Because of the wind, of course, they can't hear very well, so they tend to be more panicked, just like what you saw with Brent and the elephant. So we just decided to leave them alone. If we can't do it out in the open area on a windy day, we're probably not going to get right at all. I reckon the only animals we might be able to approach today is the royal family, seeing as though they are so relaxed. But we've just stopped at this beautiful tree over here, and there's a couple of things that I want to show you. One of the most amazing things about a young jackalberry tree, which is this thing over here, is look at all these red leaves. Now I'm sure, as you know, we're coming into autumn now. You're probably thinking, that's normal. You know, the leaves turn yellow, red, and then they fall off. That's not the case with the jackalberry, though. This is an amazing sort of adaptation, a defense that this tree has got. So as a young tree, they do it when they get older as well, particularly when they're this height, though, to try and protect them from animals that could browse them. So impala, bushbuck, and yala kudu typically, and then of course when you go into the drier seasons you see zebra, buffalo, and a few others also resorting to feeding on leaves. So the reason why these leaves are red is to try and fool the animals, as if to say these are not new young leaves, these are old bitter tasting horrible things, and they won't go for them. And it's a chemical called anthocyanin that does this. There's a couple of trees that do it too, but I think the tree that does it the best is the jackalberry tree. However, it hasn't fooled the insects. Come and take a closer look over here. Something has been feasting on the leaf. Can you see that? Look at that amazing pattern. Definitely a caterpillar of some sort that was feeding. It was actually eating quite a bit of this tree, and you can see that's quite happily. Let me show you one leaf that's red, this top one. Look at that. See there, not fooled by the anthocyanin. It knows very much that this is a good tasting juicy leaf, and probably even tastier than some of these green leaves over here, which are a little bit older, not as soft, and most likely not as palatable. But these, they're beautiful. You can see how I can bend them quite easily in my hand. They really, really would be delicious if you enjoyed eating leaves. For me, I probably wouldn't enjoy the taste very much. But a tree like this, as you can see, its growth is it's been stunted just a little bit, and it's most likely from impala. Impala are unbelievable animals. They're, of course, you know, the most densely populated antelope in Africa. You see them everywhere, which is great because it provides a prey species for lots and lots of different predators, and in the summer months even for birds, not just the lions, leopards, hyenas, and cheetah. You can even go to the big tawny eagles, or the martial eagles coming down and catching a young lamb. But this is the impala. The impala are responsible for stunting the growth of trees of less than a meter down, and it's the crucial stage for a tree to grow. It's when it's establishing its root system. Obviously, this is going to be a very messy tree now, because I'm sure as it was sprouting out the ground, animals were picking the odd leaf off here, and they would sort of shoot out a new stem to try and avoid and sort of try and outcompete with the impala or whatever it is that's feeding on it and grow. So you can see it's a very, very messy shrub now. So it'll be an interesting tree when it grows up, if it does grow up, but they can take quite a long time to grow. There's spiders. Let me see if I can see the spider. Actually, yes, I can see the spider. It's made a little web. Let me point it out with a piece of grass, Brian. It's a hard one. It's right there in the middle. Let me keep that piece of grass there for you. Let me know when you've got it. Cool. That is a tiny little spider. I'm not sure what spider it is. I can't even see it very well. I just saw it moving at one point, but it's actually very pretty. It looks like it's got a bit of reds. It looks like a little bit of yellow on the cephalothorax. But just sitting there in the middle of its web, it's got lots and lots of goodies that it's been eating. And thank you very much, spider, for getting rid of all those biting flies. That it's actually what looks like is living in here. And a nice little shelter as well. That's really, really a good spot, keeping out of the wind. So its web is going to stay in. Right, so let's keep moving. Let's see what else we've got here. We're basically going to be heading towards we had the leopard cubs last night, which was in the quarry between Shibamu and Weaver's Nest. Now we're just on Philemon's cut line now, approaching Shibamu Junction. So it's probably going to take us maybe another 15 minutes of good solid walking to get to that area, and then we just have to hope that Karula hasn't made a kill in the south. Otherwise those cubs are going to cross straight over Gowrie Main and then head into Little Gowrie. So I don't know where Karula is. We didn't see where her tracks are. We're uncertain exactly where she has gone, and today is going to be a hard day for tracking. All this sand that is now dried up and is really nice doesn't hold tracks for very long, especially when the wind is gusting at the pace that it's gusting today. Interesting, isn't it? Some days we have it easy and nature looks after us, and then other days, well, nature says we're going to make it a little bit more tough for you, and you have to really fine-tune your tracking skills and all sorts of other things. Now, there were lots of buffalo around yesterday. Dominic, and I'll tell you about the buffalo in a moment. So Dominic, you're wondering, if you were lost in the bush, what plants could you eat? Right, let's see what's around us. See, the problem now is, I'm just having a quick look. There isn't much around in this particular area. There's a lot of bush willows, there's a lot of these sennas, which aren't great. This one is an indigenous senna, but you get a couple out here which aren't indigenous at all. They're actually exotics. Don't think you can eat the leaves of a senna. There's not much at the moment. The white berry bush is unfortunately fruited already. The Ziziphus macronata, which is the buffalo thorn, that is also fruiting, and there's not really much left. But there are lots of trees out here that do get fruit, but they are seasonal. So you better hope that if you do get stuck out in the bush, you get here at the right time. There's lots of plants out here too. Not any that I can see right now that you can dig out, like for instance wild asparagus. You can dig down, you can eat the legumes, very much like a bean, which will have some form of nutrition. There's lots of plants that have water, and then water is the most important thing, I think. I think you can go a little bit longer without food, so you got to find yourself some water. And we'll just quickly chat about these things that are growing in the ground over here. We see lots and lots of them at the moment, and they are sedges. And we've chatted about them quite a bit. So this is a way, or one thing that you can do to help try and purify your water, is because this white button sedge has got an antibacterial property to it. And the Bushmen actually used to take this, fill their ostrich eggs up with water and stuff the little hole that they'd made in the ostrich egg really tightly with quite a few of these different types of sedge that you get all over South Africa, and that will help keep it nice and clean. Isn't that lovely? It's one of my favorite things out here. And there's another type of sedge that I'm going to try and find for you. It's purple nut sedge. We might have to go to the drainage lines where the areas are a little bit more disturbed. Marula trees, of course, Dominic, they're not fruiting anymore, though that's the end of the marulas too. But at one point you could have, well, eaten until your stomach ached. There were an abundance of marulas. They're really good, high in vitamin C, a good tree to know, and that's this big one just up here. But when you are out in the bush and if you are feeling a bit hungry, you don't just want to snatch up everything that you think, because a lot of these plants out here are actually toxic. They've either got a milky latex or they're just not good to eat at all. And if you eat the wrong one, well, it might be the last thing that you eat, of course. Or if you drink the wrong water, the same thing can happen. You could easily get a bacterial infection, which you don't want. So it takes quite a lot of time, a bit of practice, a lot of learning. It's like, for instance, if you're from the States, you know your area quite well. And I think education about edible plants and things like that should be in schools. I think it's very important, because it's quite easy for somebody to go on a camping holiday, have a flat tire, run out of food, and no signal or anything like that to get hold of someone, and you should be able to fend for yourself at least. We're going to march now straight into the area and try and catch up with those leopard cubs that we had last night. But I'm going to send you back across to Jamie now. I didn't hear what she has for you, but I'm sure she will tell you.
A surprise in Twin Dams is what we have. A hippopotamus. Also known as a hippopotamus. When your lips are cold, sometimes pronouncing names is hard. I did not expect to see one. I suppose there's enough water here now to encounter one once again, but it's been a long time since we've seen a hippopotamus in Twin Dams. And you can see it's a little bit nervous. It's very windy, and even with hippo in water, the wind tends to have an effect on them. You can see the water is the ripples of the water. The wind is absolutely howling, and even for a hippo safely ensconced in a dam, they still feel the effects of the wind and this sort of weather. It makes them just as unsettled as it does with like those elephants with Brent, or perhaps even the zebra with Taylor. Why do I feel as though, where have you gone? I don't want a sudden surprise charge. There we are. Hello. Sometimes all you can see of a hippo when they're about to charge you is the ripples moving towards you. And this one is slowly but surely getting closer and closer to us. Not quite sure why. There's plenty of water for this hippo to feel secure. It must just be the weather. And perhaps, for all we know, it's been involved in a scrap or two with other hippopotamus. They're definitely not worth underestimating their strength and power and speed with which they launch themselves out of the water. And this one's somewhat sinisterly lurking around, getting closer and closer to us. I'm not too worried. We've got a nice big embankment between us and him. But I have been charged by a hippo before, coming straight out of the water. It's an interesting experience and requires very rapid reversing. To you too. It's all right. It's okay, Mr. Hippo. You've got plenty of water. Got my hands on the keys just in case. Where have you gone? Where have you gone? I think you're there. And of course, they can only hold their breath for around about 5 or 6 minutes. But when they're in a situation like this, they usually pop up more regularly to keep an eye on where you are. Just see them popping up every now and again. Yo, and just like that, you'd never know a hippopotamus was in this water. Which is why you should always approach any water sources very carefully. There you go, completely unexpected place. Popped up once again to keep an eye on what we're doing. It's definitely the weather having a little bit of an effect on him. Good morning to Jenny in Los Angeles. It's lovely to have you on board, and thank you for sending through your question. Now, Jenny would like to know how much a hippopotamus eats per day. And Jenny, that's actually a really good question, because I don't know exactly off the top of my head how much they would eat. I would guess at around about 5% of their body weight. So if a hippopotamus weighs 2,000 kilograms, that'd be 100 kilograms per day. That sounds like quite a lot of grass. Maybe a little bit less than that. Maybe 100 pounds of grass per day. But that's a good question. I'm not 100% sure exactly how much they eat. I'm trying to work it out based on their digestive system. So they, strangely enough, are foregut fermenters rather than hindgut fermenters. They're one of the limited exceptions to the sort of general division between hindgut and fermenters and ruminants. And the elephants that you saw with Brent are hindgut fermenters, and they tend to excrete about half of what they eat per day. And a big bull will eat around about 300 kilograms. But 100 kilograms sounds a bit too much, so let's say 100 pounds, give or take, per day for a large hippopotamus. And of course they do all of their eating and feeding at night, heading out and cropping the grass. And on days like today, with Herbie and Taylor and Brian on foot, it pays to be extra specially cautious, because sometimes hippo like to spend a bit more time out of the water. They don't really need to at the moment though, because, well, there's lots of grass around, so they're getting plenty of nutrients, whereas during the dry season, during the drought, we'd even see them out of the water on really, really hot days, just because they were so desperate to try and get nutrients. I'm just listening to the comms at the same time. So he might actually have been wandering about until quite late this morning, and then just found himself close to twin dams. I wonder if this is the gentleman responsible for the fishy smell that pervades this entire spot. Our Chris in Vancouver, if you find yourself in the unfortunate position that you have encountered a hippopotamus whilst in the water, dive would be my advice, and try and swim as much as you can underwater rather than splashing about on the surface. Splashing about on the surface is probably going to attract the attention of not just the hippos but the crocodiles as well. So if you find yourself in a position where for some unknown reason you are suddenly forced to cross a river, or perhaps you are in a situation where you've, I don't know, somehow fallen off a boat and nobody will let you back on. I'm trying to imagine the scenario that you're swimming in a dam like this. The best advice I can give you is to dive underneath the surface of the water and to swim underwater for as far as you can, pop up for a breath and then go back under again. That's going to be your best approach, and that works as well for crocodiles. And generally speaking, a hippopotamus will not attack you if you are just swimming under the surface of the water. But if you are splashing about and making a fuss on the surface, you are going to really struggle. I'm sorry about the wind, everybody. I know it is howling and probably picking up quite clearly on our microphone. I'll try and direct my hat. I'll try and use my hat as a barrier, because of course the microphone sits underneath my hat. Definitely dive. And actually, if you dive under the water, you could probably swim right past a hippo and they're not going to bother too much with you. Hopefully. Either way, you shouldn't really be swimming in some of these water sources. But if you do find yourself in that position, that's your best approach. There's another big animal here, Dave. It snuck up on us. Like the sun, which I'm really, really enjoying. Look there. There's a giraffe. Let's go and have a better look at the giraffe. Should be fine, because we just have to drive along the dam wall. I've seen lots of giraffe recently. It's actually been really nice. Okay. I'm going to angle myself into the sun and Dave into the sun so we can both sit with our backs to it and warm up slightly. There we go, lovely female giraffe. And I said we've seen quite a few. I probably saw about 6 the other morning, including that calf that we've been watching on Djuma recently. They were being chased by lions, and then once they'd settled down, we actually enjoyed a really lovely sighting with them. And there you go, a female giraffe enjoying some breakfast. And I can tell she's a female for our newer viewers. I can tell she is a female just by the thinness of the horns on top of her head, actually officially known as ossicones, not horns, and the fact that they're covered in tufts of black hair. And the males are much thicker, much larger, and rubbed bald at the top. Dave and I are going to get blown away. We might get blown into twin dams. But if we do, then we'll dive beneath the surface of the water because of the hippo. And we'll swim as far as we can underwater before we get out again. Oh, creepy thought. In that murky water with a hippopotamus. Ugh, stuff of nightmares. You can see she's using her long tail as a fly switch. I actually wonder, it certainly makes animals more nervous, but this weather does help them with one particular aspect, and that's flies. They're not nearly as badly plagued when the wind is howling like this. It helps to keep the flies at bay. They all have to land and settle on grass blades and try and shelter and hide themselves away. That must come as a little bit of relief. At least there's a nice aspect to windy days like today. And good morning to Rumbaroo, who perhaps has been fascinated by the live video of the giraffe about to give birth, as I think most of the world has been. Rumbaroo, you want to know if giraffes give birth during the day or at night, generally speaking. And I think April's been keeping people waiting. She's well, not her, she doesn't have a choice in the matter, but her baby's been taking its time. Out here, you'll usually find it will happen during the day. And the best time to see a birth of any kind of herbivore, she's going to come out into the open for us beautifully anyway. Best time of the day to see the birth of any mammal, or prey species at least, is probably in the morning. And generally that happens because it gives their little ones a chance to find their feet and start to move about and be able to run before most of the large predators get active. So morning, middle of the day, those are generally the times that animals give birth, including giraffe. But, you know, when the labor process happens, it happens. And they don't have a huge degree of control over that. So that's not to say that a baby wouldn't be born at night. And I'm not sure whether or not that would change if you've got a situation like with the giraffe, like with April, that it's in captivity and safe. Well, it seems as though despite the wind, Brent has found a bird. Let's go and have a look.
Yay, and it's a bird that's not on our list. Oh, off he goes. There we go. Calling away the African grey hornbill, which brings us to number 56. Wow, got a lot of catching up to do if we're going to get to that 100 before Sunday. And this wind is not helping our birding endeavours. Now, I've got some sad news and some more sad news. The wild dogs have not come down to the south. They've carried on east, and tracks of what I assume to be Tingana I've just found crossing out of Djuma. So he could appear somewhere else though, so I'll be keeping my ear on the radio. Ooh, it is very unpleasant wind for birding. Roxy Jazzy would like to know how many birds have we found in a single drive, and that was with Brian and myself, the Killer Bees. I think we got to 47 or 48 in a single drive. We were birding seriously that day, very seriously. But of course, you've got to pick your mornings, and at the moment we are being stared down by the second gnu of the day. Oh no, he's running now. Hello, Vildy. Now, they are quite jumpy in this weather, as are all the potential prey species. He's sneaking closer. Are we going to run out of hill? Oh! Kelly's wondering, are wildebeest as dangerous as buffalo? Not at all, Kelly. They are quite harmless. They will run away from you. It's very unlikely that they'll ever attack you. And this guy is running for his life, thinking we might be possibly something nefarious. But of course we're not. We're just bumbling along. One must always remember that any wild animal, if cornered, is dangerous. So if you corner a wildebeest in a courtyard, he will probably flatten you. But out in the open, he's completely fine. He'll run away. Let me just see if there's been any updates on Chitwa for the morning. Morning stations in the east can I have an update for Chitwa. Oh, copy, thank you very much. Now I think we'll definitely go give that a gamble. Okay. I'm just listening. Copy, thanks. I'll go have a quick look. So I just got an update from Sinead that a female leopard ran from a net into cheetah plains around the Djuma Dam. We think it could be Kachava. Apparently there's also a male in that area, so it might be worth going to have a look. I think Taylor and Jamie have got Djuma covered, so let's start heading towards the east. Well, we're going to head on towards the east. While we do that, it seems like Taylor is on a mission. I wonder what mission Madam McCurdy is on.
We were on a tick mission. I'd found a couple of different species of ticks, but then I heard the rare whistle of the Herbie, and he'd said that he spotted 2 hyenas just up ahead. Let's see if we can get another view of them. Did they see you, Herbie? We're just gonna go quietly. Not because we are scared of the hyenas, but because they are quite nervous about us on foot. It's always a hard one. You never know where they've run to. I don't know if they spotted Herbie, so we're just scanning about. Well, they could be anywhere. Let's keep moving. Maybe we get another glimpse of them again. There's a lot of pans and things down here. They could have just been coming to have a drink. It's not really the kind of weather the hyena would be sort of wallowing away in the cool water, which they love to do on the hot summer's days. I think we may have lost them. They are so quick and so sneaky. You saw it the other morning when we had those hyenas. We heard that hyena and we'd seen it a couple of times. It took us ages before we actually got a proper spot. And this is where we left Hosanna in the afternoon, where Jamie found him. So perhaps they picked up the scent of the leopards that were around here, and that's why they're a little bit curious. I think we have lost them, sadly, but we'll see if we can find some more ticks. This is what happens. Sometimes you see a glimpse of something, sometimes it's a great sighting, other days it's not. Maybe we'll get these hyenas again. Let me just see if I can find any more ticks. There were lots and lots of ticks on the grass this morning. Everybody's very quiet and very sort of stagnant and dormant with this chilly weather. No ticks on that one. Let's find some. Let me check this panicum. No. We'll have to find maybe that area that we were in was just quite prolific and had lots and lots of ticks. We'll get some more though with bond ticks. It was the red-brown ticks. There were a few different species. They are not. Excuse me, thank you. My goodness. The hay fever between myself, Brian, and Herbie this morning is quite special. We're going to keep searching around here. We'll do a couple of circles and loops to see if we can relocate on these hyenas again. Perhaps they won't be too frightened of us, and then we will call you back very quickly. But while we search, we need to be a bit quiet, move quite quickly. I'll send you across onto the back of Jamie's vehicle.
And we're just checking the southern boundary. Give me 1 second. Will you let me know? I've got my radio on scan. Perfect, thank you. Cheers, guys. Sorry, everybody. Awkward timing. I'm just chatting and saying hello to Shanae. Alright, so we are searching for tracks of Karula crossing the southern boundary. We know she was on this side yesterday. I'm trying to see whether or not she came back or if her cubs moved across to join her. And so far I haven't picked up on anything. We're nearly where Herbert and Taylor are searching for those cubs. So if there's no tracks crossing here, they're probably in the same place. Or there's a very good chance that they're in the same place. I want to know where Taylor had those hyena. I want to go and find them if we don't have any luck here. Ooh. Okay, this is the quarry. Okay, so that's where our hyena is. Thank you to Lou for getting that message through. The hyenas were basically where we were driving this morning, Dave. They've been evading us. They're feeling embarrassed after waking us up in the middle of the night. Now, there's no tracks coming out of here. This is where Taylor last had them, yesterday afternoon, on the sunset safari. Let's check really slowly and carefully, because this is quite a main road. So there's lots of vehicles passing up and down, which means there's a chance your tracks might get obliterated if you don't get there quickly enough. And it's not just, obviously, safari vehicles coming through equipped with trackers and guides who know what to look for, but there's also staff transport vehicles that drive up and down, so they don't necessarily know what to look for, where to drive. Any sign of them crossing this junction? What is that? That's a hyena. That is a hyena. Just see paw prints out of the corner of my eye. Okay. Oh, we might actually even bump into the walk team. This must be the hyena that they saw earlier. They've gone racing south. We must have just missed them too. Dave, all the animals are just one jump ahead of us. They're hiding from us. Oh look, there's the walk team. That must have been the same hyenas that they saw. We just must have missed them. Sorry. Copy that, thanks, Shanae. I'm not sure if she said she did have tracks or if she didn't. And I just said copy. I thought she said she didn't. But I'm just going to double check and just see whether or not they are coming across to our side. Morning! Yes. No sign of... There's no tracks coming out here. Okay. I see your hyenas went south.
Very upsetting.
I know. Okay.
We'll go into the quarry, and I don't know, maybe they went straight east again into the block.
That could be, and I also haven't checked Weaver's Nest.
Okay, we'll go and have a look there now.
Cool.
Enjoy, good luck.
Alrighty, thank you very much, you too. Go find our leopard cubs. Right. I think let's just go check a little bit further along the boundary, because the road is so hard here. If they crossed here, unless they had weights around their ankles, we're not going to see them. Oh no, there's a tree in the way. Oh dear, I fluffed this completely. Now I'm going to run over the walk team. That'd be very tragic. They wouldn't be happy with me at all. Leave Dave behind. I know, I'm not doing well this morning, Dave. Bye, guys. Okay, let's go check here. Then we've checked the whole of the southern boundary, or most of the southern boundary. And I think Brent has checked the rest. Keep an eye out for leopards in trees as well. Weather like this, they're far less likely to hang out in a tree unless they have a kill. It's just that much more exposed. Why lie in a tree and get blown about and get motion sickness when you can lie tucked away comfortably in a bush, which makes our life more difficult but definitely makes them more comfortable. And don't forget, while we're traveling along, to send through your questions using the hashtag safariLIVE on Twitter. Everything's hiding. Everything's ducking away in the wind. Apart from our giraffe and our hippopotamus, I think that's the only mammal life Dave and myself have seen. And that's exciting news, Carrie. You're coming to visit us in May or June. You're going to the Kruger. That is lovely to hear, and you must be so excited. And Carrie, you want to know, what can you expect with the weather? Cold mornings, very chilly mornings, and very chilly evenings. If you're going to be going on if you're driving yourself around in your vehicle, your closed vehicle, you'll be nice and toasty warm. However, if you're going in the backs of open vehicles, if you're taking some of the Kruger game drives themselves, I would highly advise packing a very warm windproof coat and a scarf or two, because the wind chill factor when you're on the back of the vehicles definitely drops the temperature a degree or two. So in the mornings you're looking at probably sitting at around about 40 degrees Fahrenheit, under 10 degrees centigrade for yourself in the morning. And then it's not as cold as July. Your days, the middle of the days will get right up to the mid 70s Fahrenheit, low 20s, and the sun's nice and warm. It's really pleasant to be out here. And of course the nice thing about winter, you can see further into the bush. You've got a far greater chance of encountering something unusual, something, say for example like a civet or an aardvark or something out in the open when they might otherwise be sleeping. And you've got the animals concentrated around the water sources, because there will be, by June I would say there'll be no more puddles, but the dams will still have water. So by going to a dam and sitting and spending a bit of time there in one of the hides, you'll actually have a really pleasant experience, and you should see some nice, even just general game, coming down to the water and to the dams. So that's exciting. It's one of my favorite times of year to go to the Kruger. And Brian, in Colorado, you want to know what is the average rainfall in South Africa. For this area, and I'm going to say this area just because this is where we are, you're looking at probably about 500 or so millimeters, give or take. Whereas if you go, obviously South Africa is a land of variety, so there's different rainfall in different areas. You could be looking at under 200 in parts of the Karoo, or if you go towards the Kalahari or up towards Namibia. Cape Town, you're looking at a little bit more. Joburg is probably around about 800 or so. So there's quite a lot more rain in Joburg. Natal, quite a much higher rainfall. I don't know what the average is for the country as a whole, but I mean, South Africa's quite a big country. And as I said, the fact that we sit on the sort of southern tip of Africa gives us quite a wide variety of weather conditions. Our topography and the combination of the Atlantic and the Indian Ocean currents mean that we get some interesting and very varied weather. Morning, Impala. Have you seen a leopard by any chance? Well, there we go. The average for the entire country is 464, according to Final Control. There we go, 464 millimeters. That's always difficult because it really depends very much upon where you are in the country. We've got vast sections of our land that are quite dry. The Karoo is one of the largest biomes in South Africa, and that is very, very dry as well. But this low-veld area is quite a wet area. You can see the two oxpeckers bouncing about. One juvenile and one adult. The juvenile with the dark beak, and then the adult with the red bill, although it's disappeared now. Sifting and combing through the impala's coats. And that practiced technique, combing through, getting rid of all of those ticks and parasites, must be like a really pleasant spa treatment for the impala. What was that about? Oh, males. Hormone levels are starting to get high again, and the impala are all jumpy. The males are all jumpy now. Every time one of them just vaguely turns a head in the direction of the other, they dance backwards and forwards. That's what that... I thought for a second we were about to get really lucky and wild dogs were going to come sprinting through. Unfortunately not today. At least not yet. Alright, let's go look for these leopards. No tracks crossing south. Hopefully the walking team was able to figure out exactly where they've gone to. No sign of Karula popping. Shift my radio back. There's no sign of Karula popping out. So let's check all along the western boundary. Hello, boys. Quite a handsome group of bachelors. I love how all of the oxpeckers are clustered on one impala. Okay, one's got one. The rest of the entire family of oxpeckers are all gathered on that one particular male. Look at the way they use their stiffened tail feathers to help to balance them. Well, as I drew attention to it, it flew away. There is a certain inevitability to that. He's scratching his head. Okay, let's continue on. You'll see that all of our animals are a little bit jumpy with us and everything else this morning. And Sarah, yes, the high winds do interfere with their sense of smell a lot, and it has the added disadvantage of rustling. It basically takes away their ability to hear something coming. There's so much rustling going on, the wind is howling, they can't get a direction on the sounds, they can't work out if it's leaves blowing and scraping against each other, or if it is in fact something stalking them. So it becomes quite scary for them. And you've got the added disadvantage that it's cold as well. But absolutely, it does interfere with both their sense of smell and hearing. And when you're an animal, for the most part, pretty much every animal out here is quite reliant upon their sense of hearing and their sense of smell. So you can imagine how distressing it must be. It's basically the equivalent of throwing somebody out into the bush blindfolded and having to stumble about. They can see, but not as strongly as they can hear or smell usually. So that's why they get so nervous. That's why we say it's such good hunting weather, because it's so easy for the predators to actually sneak up on the prey and catch them unawares. And that's why generally you'll find on days like today, or especially after nights like last night, you'll get the herds of animals like herds of impala or zebra clustered together on quarantine or any open area where they can see further and it's harder for a predator to sneak up on them. And for the little antelope species, the solitary antelope species, they go into hiding completely. They go and they lie down in the thickest vegetation they can find and they hide there. Oh wow! Brent is much braver than I am. I was picturing the winds howling across Cheetah Plains and decided that was definitely a no-go, but Brent is braver. He's found his way all the way across there. Let's go and see how things are on that side.
Fortunately, we're not working in those big open plains where the wind will be howling. We're right on the western edge. Female leopard ran into Cheetah Plains, according to Sinead. There's also a male around. Now, I think it could be Tingana, just from where his tracks crossed into Torchwood. He often does that loop around through here. This is a really a shot in the dark. We look corner of Cheetah Plains, and apparently they do have a kill back on Annette's side, so maybe she might have gone back. So she ran away from a tracker on foot who was tracking her. So anywhere around here. Sorry about that. The problem with this little corner of Cheetah Plains is some parts of it are just in the gap between where I'll repeat. Let's hope she's just or whoever it may be. Most likely to be Kuchava in this area. So fingers crossed. I've never seen her before. Oh, the grass is so long, yeah. So there's this little river system here, and just beyond our border there's a place called Tambuti Crossing, and that's where the kill is. So she ran into Cheetah Plains, Now, it's one of those very funny, sort of really nondescript borders, so I'm going to just pull out my map to see how far I can push how far the boundary actually is. Oh, she's not lying on the wall. Okay. Come on, Kuchaba. Flying. What we do that.
Sorry about that. Brent's obviously going through a little signal where the gremlins are hitting him hard. Hopefully he comes out of that little situation. Okay, now we're just walking on the fire break. We checked the last lock of the last location of the leopards last night, but nothing. We've only seen a couple of buffalo tracks moving around here, so we're just checking carefully because I'm just going to show you. Look at this. Look how tall the grass is. I don't even need to, I mean, you can just see everything is sort of up as high as my chest. You will not see a buffalo if it's sitting in this grass. I promise you it'll be completely camouflaged. Even a rhinoceros or anything like that could be sitting down sleeping on this chilly day, and you wouldn't know that it was there. So we're just being very, very careful and cautious. We're not walking too fast now. We're taking it easy. We've got a lot of things against us. Now, if I was with guests, I wouldn't take my guests out on a walk on a day like today. It's just too windy. It's too much of a risk. I can't hear. Obviously, we're just guides, so we are very well trained in this type of thing. So it's all right for us to be walking about, and if need be, we're all very well capable at climbing trees and that type of thing. So I'm not too worried about that. But it's always important just to be, of course, cautious as you are walking around. Elephants. Can't pick this one up and move it away, but no, not even a sign yet of those leopards. So I don't know if they went straight east into this this block here. I think Herbie says we're actually going to go in here at some point and go and have a look. Now the thing is, as wonderful as what it is that how habituated the leopards have become to us in the vehicles, and then of course on foot, which you've seen many occasions now. It means that they don't react to us anymore. So we could walk right past them, and Hosanna or Shangile could just be in a deep sleep. They hear us, but they go, oh, yeah, people, yeah, not really worried. You saw the only time Hosanna really reacted to Jamie yesterday was when they were walking away, and that was just simply popping up his head. He's not tall enough. He could pop his head up all he liked in this long grass, and we probably still wouldn't see him. Now, that's the only thing now, is trying to let them give away their presence is almost impossible. We'll get better. When it's winter and the grass is nice and short, it'll be wonderful then. But nothing so far. And this is good sand. You'll be able to see footprints very, very easily. You can see I leave a nice track after I've walked. My shoes don't have much tread on them, but you can easily see, and you would definitely see a leopard footprint. Absolutely no doubt about that. And not many people drive on these fire breaks either. I think yesterday I was the only one that drove on a fire break, on this particular fire break. I can see two sets of tracks. So one from me coming from the dam, from Twin Dams along here when I spotted them, and then I was reversing up and down a little bit. So it hasn't been disturbed, which is what making me think they were either just cruising just parallel to this fire break, or they've gone back towards Treehouse Dam. So that's what we're doing now. It's a process of elimination. We're trying to be as safe as we can out in the conditions that we have today. But we are going to head towards Treehouse Dam. We'll probably cut through the block. Jamie said she hadn't checked Weaver's Nest just yet. So before we start going towards Treehouse, we'll just make sure we check this Treehouse Dam, this Weaver's Nest section. Also, the road is quite nice. It's nice and soft, a bit sandy. So essentially, we should be able to pick up on some tracks again. Right? Let's keep our fingers crossed that we find the leopards. They really are putting on a show for us today and showing us how well camouflaged they are and also how elusive a leopard can actually be. But we're going to keep on searching now and hopefully we get lucky. Really keep thinking positive thoughts that we're going to find these leopards. And I'm going to send you back across to Jamie now. I'm actually not sure what her plan is for the rest of the morning. I know she'd probably like to see some spotted cats, but let's go and hear it from her.
Well, my plan for the rest of the morning is to dodge this really upset herd of elephants. At least that's the immediate plan. Brent's spoken already. He was sitting with elephants earlier. He's spoken already about the fact that they're a little bit unsettled in this weather. And I came around the corner and there was a cow that came rushing out with her tail stiff. And that, when you see an elephant with a stiff tail, it's one of those immediate signs that they are not in a happy mood. Their tails are not swishing normally, the adult cows. Hello, girls, it's okay. It's all right. And this is a big herd of elephants. Oh, we're going to have to move back, Dave. There's more coming out of the side there. And we're right in their pathway. Sorry, everybody. Let's just get out of the way. You see their really, really unsettled body language. And it's a big herd as well. So let's just give them a little bit of extra room. Now, obviously, our behavior with elephants is always different depending on the day and depending upon their mood. And we know already on windy days that giving them a little bit of extra room would be ideal. There's the rest of the herd coming through. It's not going to be the best view in the world, but let's just sit patiently. You can see, trunk up, sniffing constantly. It's the same what we were discussing earlier about the fact that their sense of smell, their hearing is compromised, and it just has a way of making them quite unsettled. And you can see it in their body language. Look, she's smelling towards us. I think we might still have to move. All right, big girl. Let's move now, rather than find ourselves in an awkward position later. Let's just give them even more comfort room. Oh, this is a big herd. Elephants are popping out everywhere. Here's one over there. All right, big girls. Okay. Okay, you can come through. Don't stress. I'm not going to block you. She'll come through now. That's one of the cows who seems to be the most upset with life. Young female. Now, there's some leopard tracks on this road as well that have been heavily obscured by the wind. I can only assume they come from early yesterday evening because they're basically all but invisible, much like our elephants at the moment. But I'm afraid this is the view we're going to stick with. There might even be a young calf. I can see the back of a relatively small calf in there. You can see the stillness of their body language. That walking, freezing, walking, freezing, walking, freezing. It tells us all we need to know about them. Shepherding their little ones across. Of all of the animals, elephants are probably the worst affected by this weather. Presumably a combination of intelligence, the fact that they're constantly processing the world around them, and just that their hearing is so sensitive and their sense of smell is so sensitive. Elephants will track you by your smell. They will follow you by your smell. And if you're on foot and they have a vague idea that you are there, they will try and get closer to see exactly where you are and what you're doing. Look at this body language in the middle of the road. Okay, girl. All right. And this stiff tail, ears out constantly. Head up as they cross the road. Here comes another one. Slightly more relaxed. Bit calmer. All right, girl. Even then, stopping to give us a sideways glance out of the corner of her eye before she carried on. Hello, little one. Oh, panic. Panic. Everybody's so nervous and I don't quite know why. Okay, I'm gonna run. Run for the shelter of the herd. Oh, goodness gracious. We've got another one that's now snuck up on our left. She's stopped to feed. She's also got a calf with her. We're going to play it even more safe, Dave, and just back up even more. to let her go past. Especially if she's split from the rest. Oh no, now she's going. Let's try and do this before we put her in an awkward position. Now, Jenny, you want to know where you find the largest herds of elephants. I presume you mean in Africa, because generally our elephant herds, we might get 70 to 80 at a push. There is a big bulk of an elephant in there, but that's about as good a view as I can get for you now, Dave. She's at the back there. Jenny, if you go to Botswana or into Zambia, in South Luangwa and those sorts of places, you get absolutely massive elephant herds, hundreds of them gathered together, particularly in dry seasons when they're moving about around the waterholes or the remaining waterholes. So that's not something we usually see here. I've seen a herd of about, or a combination of herds of around about over 100, maybe 150, and that was south towards the Crocodile River in the Kruger National Park. It does depend upon the time of year as well, how concentrated they are around good food sources. At the moment there's lots of grass, lots of fresh vegetation for them to eat, so they're not as concentrated. Okay. That one's actually moving further into the block, so I think we could probably skirt around them and go forward. Now, elephants, you want to know, well, why would then elephants form such big herds? It's several different herds with several different matriarchs, all gathered together, usually for resource purposes. If there's lots of water concentrated in one place and not really anywhere else, that would be a good reason. If the Mopani, you know, there's huge sections of Mopani there. If the Mopani is not particularly good to eat at that time of year, whoopsie daisy. She's, uh-oh. Okay, trying to dodge elephants here everywhere. Let's just stop. We've got to just stop here. Otherwise we're going to unsettle them. They now have managed to sneak behind me, which was what I was trying to avoid, but it's just happened anyway. So if they come up to us, Dave, just sit nice and keep your movements nice and still. Hi, big girls. We are here. Please don't come and get a fright. You know we're here. You've heard the vehicle moving. We've just got to sit tight. Hi, girl. She's eating. We're not in any kind of trouble, just by the way. So it's not a reason to be stressed for any particular. It's just that we're trying to give them as much space as possible. But because one of them, and I think it's actually a bull, one of them snuck around behind me. I now can't really get back and I can't go forward, so we've just got to sit. Hello, big girl. It's okay. Dominic, good question. Will elephants eat less when they're nervous? All right. Hello, big girl. I see your baby. I see your beautiful baby. Don't you want to go a little bit towards the rest of the herd? Dominic, I think probably you'll find that yes, there might be a slight decrease in feeding, but to maintain their massive bulk, elephants basically have to feed as often as possible for most of the day. So I don't think there's going to be a hugely noticeable difference. What we don't want is a gust of wind now. But unfortunately, we've got no control over that. Fortunately, we don't have a flapping roof on. Oh, yum. Trunks full of grass. No having to worry about those tough branches at the moment. And these fields of panicum grass with plenty of nutritional value, and that's what these elephants are enjoying. And even we as humans like to eat those sorts of grasses. Hello, ladies. Hello, ladies. Hi, my girl. Here we go, see? Nothing to be stressed about. Her tail's still stiff. Not held out at right angles to her body, but not flapping. Here's her little one. Now, Skip, you want to know whether or not elephants have eyelashes. Skip, I think that elephants have the most beautiful eyelashes of any animal. Hello. Oh, what a beautiful view of your mouth. Thank you for that. That's lovely. And your eyelashes. Skip, it's always lovely to hear your name. Now, they've got big, long eyelashes to protect their eyes. Hello, Mom. I'm not going to move, don't you worry. You can shepherd your baby across. Come on, naughty. Don't come and start with me. Your mom will get cross with me, and it will not be my fault. Come on, off you go. Off you go. Catch up with Mum. Now, they have beautiful eyelashes to protect their eyes against sharp sticks and thorns, anything when they're feeding around on the branches. And they're very, very long. Probably roundabout, for an adult elephant, probably about over 1.5 inches. Hello. Hello, little monkey. Yes, little boy. No, you don't want to come cause trouble. There's your mum. Go to her. Yes, now you feel safe. I'm sorry, I'm laughing at this little one who's come running across the road. Laura Moore, you're wondering, well, we've got these breeding herds of elephants who seem determined to come and feed right next to us. What happens to the male elephants? Do they form bachelor herds? Are there equal numbers of males and female elephants born? There are equal numbers of elephants, male and female. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, it's just... I just want to go backwards, mister. There are equal numbers. Can I answer that question in a moment? I just need to concentrate on this gentleman who's come out of nowhere with trouble in his face. Can I come past you, mister? I would actually prefer to be on the other side of you. Luckily, we've got a nice big bush in front of us. Sorry, Laura, hold on 1 second. I've got a feel of nonsense about this particular male. And that's why the females have been pushing away. He's probably added to their feeling of discontent. And I can smell, I don't think it's him, I can smell a must ball somewhere. And this will lead us into the answer to Laura's question in a moment. Right, Laura, the males form, yes, they do form bachelor herds. Once they are kicked out of the herd, once they reach sexual maturity, they'll start to move around, and particularly the young males feel more comfortable when they form bachelor groups. Young male elephants tend to be quite nervous in their initial years of being away from the herd. It's quite scary for them. As you can imagine, for a creature that's become accustomed to having the company of other elephants around him, now all of a sudden he's on his own, they will form bachelor herds, sometimes gathering around a larger, older bull who knows how things work and can keep them in line. And then they will also start to spend time accompanying other breeding herds of elephants. So especially if there's a female in estrus, or maybe just even for a little bit of company. Oh, he's showing that bush who's boss. Bush who's boss. What was I talking about? Oh yes, bulls. And then you'll get the really massive older gentlemen. They'll usually be on their own. When they're over 30 years old, a lot of the time they're just moving about, having a solitary existence. When they come into must, which is that heightened level of testosterone, then they might be more inclined to seek out the company of the breeding herds, and of course, with that, a potential mate, a female in estrus. Hello, my big boy. You've got beautiful big tusks. Thick tusks, not long, just thick. You can see he uses the left tusk to break grass. There's a perfect notch at the tip. Or you might have seen, now he's turned away completely. And a lovely view of his eyelashes, and there's that waxy build-up in the corner of the eye. You often find it more pronounced on windy days, just because there's a lot of stuff blowing into their eyes. Hello, my boy. There a lady that you're interested in? He's definitely not in must, and he's actually relaxed nicely. Might just have been because he came round out of the trees and he saw us and we took him by surprise. And look at that amazing notch on the left. Years and years and years of breaking off bits of grass and branch using that tusk. Now the right one is thicker but slightly shorter, and it's actually broken. It's actually been broken off quite a while ago. It's been rubbed smooth now. Now, would we say that this elephant is left-tusked or right-tusked? That's an interesting question, because they tend to favor one tusk over the other. The right one's shorter. It's been used more frequently for digging, but he uses the left one to break off bits of twigs and grass. No, my boy. No, my boy. We're just sitting here minding our own business. Josh, you want to know if the elephants of this area have any issues with communicable diseases? What are you planning? What is going on in that giant mind of yours? With your brain 3 times the size of mine. What are you thinking about? Are you thinking about how you can sneak around behind us, or are you thinking about the ladies in front of you? Or are you thinking about breakfast? Sorry, Josh. I'm just trying to work out whether or not we're going to get a head shake or not. Josh, yes, elephants do have issues with communicable diseases. Not really things like tuberculosis, which is one of the diseases that most commonly affects the animals out here. A lot of the animals, lions and buffalo especially, carry tuberculosis. However, one of the big things that gets elephants is anthrax. Now, we don't, at the moment, the anthrax risk is now past. We were a bit concerned during our really dry months that we were going to get an anthrax outbreak. And of course, it is really very dry that the spores start to become active and then they spread very easily, which is why, when it was dry, we were being very careful with the carcasses that we approached. If it was an unexplained death, just to be slightly wary of that risk. So elephants, in particular, are vulnerable to anthrax. And generally, you'll probably find that it's the pulmonary anthrax. Kind of skinny, something like that affects the lungs. I'm pretty sure that elephants can get rabies, but I don't know how many cases there have been recorded of elephants getting rabies. Be interesting to know. The idea of a rabid elephant is, well, relatively terrifying. Rabid anything would be terrifying. Rabid elephant would be particularly terrifying. But I've never ever seen any footage or seen any pictures of an elephant with rabies. They tend to avoid other rabid animals straight away. The wild owl bull slowly moves off and gives us an opportunity to do the same. Let's find out how the bushwalk team is doing with their search for spotted leopard cubs.
Sadly, we are not having any luck this morning with the spotted cats. We haven't seen one footprint of them yet, which means that they're most likely in this block. It is very thick. The grass is not pretty much as tall as I am, and it's very, very silly to go walking in an area like that, so we're going to avoid it. Now, something caught my eye here. Now I have to find what it was. Yes, we're back on the ticks. Here we go. If you have a look just on the tip over there, you can see the red-brown ticks. Now, I was reading an interesting article the other day, and I learned something that I didn't know. So perhaps I'm going to teach you all something. These ticks that you're looking at over here, these are not very nice ticks. Like I said, they're called the red ticks or red-brown ticks. And, hang on. Herbie's whistling at me. He's just stopping. So these are males. And you know the ticks that are on the leopards? Right, we're going to have to go. Herbie's just signaled us. He says we need to move away. Brian, come this way. I don't know what Herbie has seen. There's a big elephant bull. Right. We're just going to move away very quickly. He's walking down the road. The last thing we want to do, because it's windy, you've seen how nervous they are. He's walking straight towards us. I just got a glimpse of him. Well, Herbie's saying we can come through there. He was just marching down the road. Let's go and see what's happened. Is he still coming? He's still coming towards us. And we haven't got the wind in our favor at the moment. He can smell us. Let's just see. Is that my young daughter? So Herbie says he's not a big elephant, but still any elephant can do a lot of damage to you. Now you see, this is where it gets a bit scary. Up we go. Are you going to go, Brian? You go that way. I'm going to jump over the top over here. So you're going to follow Herbie. I'm just going to talk. I'm going to try and jump over the top and go through some of this long stuff. There's a termite mound which we'll head to. And we haven't seen the Ellie just yet. Can't see him anymore, but you can see how thick the vegetation is. Let's go on to the top of this termite. My goodness, the allergies are horrible today. Let's come up top here. So now we've got a nice view. And look, you cannot see anything. Look at this dense wall of vegetation, of guarri trees, of bush willows. You wouldn't even know that there was an elephant there, but he's there. We know he's there. He's not a particularly large elephant, but most likely a bull that's just there. There's another one. So we've stumbled across a bachelor herd of elephants here, by the looks of it. That's a much bigger bull than the one that we just had a quick look at. So the young one I'm not too worried about, because you can shout and boss him and tell him to do what you need to. But also it's very, very thick, so we don't know. He's changed direction again. He's now, let's just see what he does. See, he's moved away from us. We don't know if these Ellie bulls are in must. It's very uncertain. We obviously have to be very careful. But we're all right, we're fine. So if you are panicked, don't be panicked. I'm not panicked. The most important thing is that you just get yourself to a bit of higher ground so that you can try and assess the situation. Like I said, we don't have the wind in our favor. We've got no sun in the eyes of the elephants. I'm just thinking, I thought I saw another one. Nope, it's just a termite mound in the distance. Yeah, so what we're going to do is let's quickly go through there's a kudu. Actually, let's go through, we're going to just move through this little thicket. And we're going to try and move away from these elephants so that we have the wind on our favor. It's going to be a bit difficult. Right, let's go. Watch your steps here. And again, what we're going to do is we're going to get to the next high ground so we can have another look around. You've just got to keep your eyes peeled as you go through. It's very, very, very thick. Now this type of area, again, I would never walk guests into an area like this. Now, what guides do is very different, an area that you'd walk guests in versus an area that we could walk in. Like I said, we're trained, we know exactly what to do in a situation. So it's not a problem. We as guides, sorry Brian, you're going to have to do a big step here. We as guides will be able to react a lot quicker than having to explain a situation over to somebody who wouldn't know what to do. But I don't think they're coming towards us. I think they've now changed direction and they've moved off. But that's good. We'll just keep going the opposite way. There's no need to now go the same direction that those elephants are going. We can't hear them, we can't see them. So you want to be safe. All the time you have to be safe. You've got to make sure you keep a good amount of distance between you and the animals. The animals can move a lot quicker than what we can, and you've seen that many, many occasions, whether it's lions running, buffalo running, elephants charging, you've seen. But if a young elephant bull wanted to come and pick up on our scent and follow up on us, he would have done so already. He's young, like I said, probably just left the herd, not the one that we showed you, the one that Herbie had initially and spotted him coming down the road. He would be very, very nervous of us if we all stood in a line and just shouted, hey. He'd probably flare his ears up, put his head up, maybe trumpet at us, but he'd turn around and he'd go back. And elephants are typically, they're not necessarily aggressive animals, but they're very curious. So if they do pick up the scent of a human, they're going to follow it. They want to go and see, oh, hey, what's happening? What are you doing here? You know, if you found something nice to eat, I'm not sure what an elephant would say to you, but even a big elephant bull. you just take it easy, you read their behavior, and that. Like I said, we are happy, we are fine, we are not worried. We are all right. We got to the high ground, we scanned the area, we saw there was a bachelor herd of elephants. We saw only 2, so it could just be the 2 of them. It's not uncommon to see 2 of them walking around. Like I said, no panic at all. If I was seriously panicked, you would have seen me marching, trying to get to higher ground. But it may look like I'm a little bit nervous because I'm constantly turning my head, I'm constantly looking around. You have to. If you don't look around your surroundings, that is when you're going to get yourself into trouble and something is going to surprise you. And it's windy, so they are a little bit jumpy, but that also means that they're going to be a little bit more nervous of us than usual. You might find that the elephant won't want to cause a bit of trouble with us because he doesn't know, can't hear very well. Could be something else sneaking up behind him. I'm not worried at all. So don't stress if you are a little bit panicked. We're very honest out here. We'll tell you if we get ourselves into a bit of a tricky situation. But you can see we're not even moving anymore. We're standing in the same spot. We're just trying to see where they're going. But I don't think they're coming here. I think that they've gone sort of more west now. So we can carry on. Herbie, which way should we go? We're going to go through here. So what you'll see is I'm going to lead now. Herbie's going to stay behind and just keep an eye out because that's the area where the elephants were. And I'm going to watch in front. There's a road over here. So we'll get to that road. Normally next to the roads there's some nice big termite mounds. We'll probably climb up to one of them. And I'm also not as worried as what I'd be if this was a hot summer's day, because there are lots of mud wallows in here, but animals typically only wallow when it is exceptionally hot. Weather on a cool day like today, very unlikely that you're going to find a buffalo or a rhinoceros or anything really, or even a hippo in some of these mud wallows here. Just having a look, a little listen as we walk through here. You can actually see these mud wallows have dried up. There's not much happening here at all, so there wouldn't be any reason for these animals to be attracted. Quite a few buffalo tracks though, and elephant tracks crossing through here. Let's have a quick look. There you can see lots and lots of buffalo tracks walking around here. But no stress at all. This is a nice area to walk. There's no ticks. It's sand, it's open, so I don't blame the animals for coming through here. But we're going to head towards the road and see if we can find out where these elephants are going, or if there are any more, and what's going on. I think our tracking expedition for the leopards this morning... Nope. There was a fly on my face, so I just thought I'd sacrifice my face and whip myself. We're going to go and search for a little spot to have a little scan around, but I'm going to send you back across to Brent to see how he's doing.
Unfortunately, we had no luck with those leopards. I could not find any sign of them crossing. They could still be right on that boundary in that thick drainage line. So we've started moving back to the west. We're now on Chitwa. Now we kept trying to get, I kept trying to get to the dam, and every time I'm on my way to the dam, something distracts me. The first time last week it was Tundi and Tumba, and then last night it was wild dogs. So maybe we will actually get towards the dam today and have a look at how full it is. I was hoping for a bit nicer weather. I thought I might go catfish fishing again in that overflow, but we're going to have to. I think I'm definitely not going to brave the water on this cold day. Now I am hoping for a few birds, and there we go. Another one for the list. Yay! Have you got him there? Where'd he go? There he is. It is a thrush. Very pretty one. It is called a ground scraper thrush. A ground scraper thrush. Is it? No, it's not. It's a dusky lark. Oh, yay, dusky lark. That's a new one. I think that'll be a new one for a lot of people. I just saw that. Wait, let me try to get a bit closer. Is it a dusky lark or is it a ground scraper thrush? Please don't fly. Let's try and get a bit of a better view. No, you evil bird. Oh no, it's a thrush. There's two of them. There's one coming down. Doop. And the other one coming down. Doop. So to the right of the lapwings. Where did they land? Somewhere in there. As I say, birding in this weather is not ideal. We'll try and get a bit closer now. I just want to double check, because it was... The face looked quite interesting to me. Okay. There's one's flown, one's still just where that one flew from. Oh, there it goes. But... no, I think they are larks. There they go. Let's see where they're going to land again. Now, of course, it's always quite difficult because... oh, he's landed right next to us. Let's have a look. There he is. It's not. It is a dusky lark. It is not a ground scraper thrush. That is awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Dusky lark. That should be a really nice new bird species for a lot of you. That's so cool. That's definitely my first dusky lark. And the ground scraper thrush is one of the confusing species with it, but they are quite a bit bigger. Where'd he go? No, look at the lark, Craig. The lark. It's a rare one. We don't see it often. Let everyone get their screenshots. Psst, 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 psst. No, you're supposed to turn and look at when I do that. There we go, dusky lark. So it breeds in Angola, Democratic Republic of Congo, Zambia and Western Tanzania, and is only around here towards in the summer months, and they're very, very nomadic. So they're very unpredictable to predict where they're going to arrive. So they could be all over the place one year and then none the next year. That is very exciting. There we go, dusky lark. Let me know if that's a new one for you and how many birds you're on. And we are, how many are we on our list is now? 57. Well done, William. Number 81 for your bird list. Hopefully, if I get to 100, so will you over the next few days. Dusky lark, dusky lark, dusky lark. Well, now he's being so chilled. Oh, I might just snap a quick picture. Don't fly as I pick up my camera, like most things like to do. Awesome. That is so cool. So there we go, a dusky lark. I think Scott saw one once on the Arathusa airstrip a long time ago, if I remember correctly. Okay. Well, so far, I mean, we've got some really good birds on this bird list, and we haven't got a lot of the common ones yet. Now, let's test Craig. In the sky, Craig, flying fast. Oh, he's gone. No way. We'll try again later. Hopefully we'll find one perched. But it looked like a European swallow. They really like this windy weather. They fly around riding the winds. Ooh, see, now we're in a more open area. This wind is much stronger. Didn't quite hear that, but I know Janine was asking about the weather. It's about 69 Fahrenheit, 21 Celsius, but it's the wind chill factor today, Janine, that's keeping us bundled up. always have a quick look for Tundi in this area. It is one of her favourite hangouts. Right. Unless they've got a kill in a tree, the leopards are going to be on the ground today. Whoa. I think there might even be some waves on the Chitwa Dam today. Craig, if you could bring your surfboard with you, or you're going to surf flat. Just surf flat, yeah, more sensible. Yeah, well, we head towards the Chitwa Dam. Let's go see what Jamie is up to.
I'm scouring the vegetation for, well, anything this morning. Since all of our animals seem to be hiding away, our elephants sprinted away from us into the vegetation. That bull was very patient with us and then just wandered off. Lots and lots of hyena tracks around, so what I'm going to do shortly is turn around and go back towards the hyena den itself. And go see whether or not ribbons come home to us. This all hyena. It is. It is all hyena. Windy days like today make tracking very difficult because the wind, especially on soft sand, all you're left with is the impression of a paw. And trying to figure out exactly what it is, you've really got to start looking at the nuances, the way that the feet are positioned. So with the hyena, obviously you've got that cross walk, where the front left and the back right will fall at angles to each other, close to each other. So that's what I'm looking for at the moment. And indeed anything else. Perhaps we'll see something really unexpected, Dave. Maybe. Maybe, we say hopefully. We know on days like today, unless we've got an established leopard sighting or a lion sighting, the animals hide away from us and everything else. The elements are conspiring against us. I actually felt 2 drops of rain earlier. Did you feel that, Dave? It started to semi-drizzle, but it's too windy for the rain, for proper rain. It's just going to blow everything past us. And we're just coming up to camp now. This is where the hyenas have been spending lots of their time. Even the birds are hiding. I'm excited to hear about the dusky lark though. Last one I saw was on our way up towards Rupel, the highest dark bird in this area. And we had a lovely sighting. Oh, they're all back. Marula season is done. There's been lots of rain, so there's plenty of grass. And that means our ellies are back in town. Once again. Nice to view them at a comfortable distance. You can see how much they're enjoying the fresh green grass. This one looks as though it's been swimming. It's much darker than normal. You're going to go and have a good scratch up against that tree. Unlike us, they don't have too much of a problem with being too cold. They're so massive that it takes a lot to really make an elephant chilly. Oh, is that not a nice bunch of grass? He just rejected that. Throw it over your shoulder. Reaching up to touch his eye. Oh, surprised the elephants don't blow over in this. But yes, in weather like this, you often see them touching their eyes and their ears just because so many grass seeds, dust, it all blows in there. It makes them a little bit uncomfortable. I'm not going to try and get any closer to this ellie, so once it disappears behind the bush, we'll probably move on. Dark and gloomy this morning. Feels as though winter's arrived. Okay. Ellie disappeared. Let's continue on. I'm just going to check around. There's a bird's nest just around the corner. Still trying to figure out what bird inhabits it. I know they're there. I heard the chicks chirping away on bushwalk one day, and I still haven't managed to establish which particular bird species is nesting in there. There's so many tracks, hyena tracks on this road. I almost want to go and check the Zoe's Road hyena den as well. Maybe there's a chance Gwen's moved there. I have checked. No, Hat, stay on. I have checked it recently. Now, which tree is it? I think it's this one. No, it's not this one. It is this one. But this horrible weather. Dave, you see that blackened stump? In there is a bird's nest. And you can see there's a bit more excrement outside of that entrance hole than there was the last time we stopped to check here. But of course, again, in this wind, not an adult bird in sight. And they've all gone quiet. The last time I walked past this nest site, there was frantic chirping as though the chicks thought perhaps I was one of their parents coming back to feed them. No luck. Right, let's go find out how Bushwalk is doing, and I'll shoot across towards the hyena den.
Well, we're right. We're actually fantastic. It's really quite lovely out here. We made it out safe and sound, of course, like I said we would. Those elephants were obviously moving very quickly. And it was only the one elephant that really knew we were there, which is the one that spotted Herbie on the road while we were going to tell you about the ticks. But I promise you, out here in the bush, you have to be very careful, but there's no point getting yourself worked up when you're in a sighting like that. And we were 100% safe. We had a termite mound, we had a massive drainage system to cross, we had all these natural barriers that may have been a little bit difficult for you to see. But in a situation like that, Herbie was ahead of me. He gave me some signals. I had no idea what he was looking at, so you have to respond very quickly. Remember, Herbie's out here to protect us, and we all our lives are we were all safe. And it was fine, and it was okay, and it was wonderful. It was really cool sighting, but it's always a little bit daunting when there is a bit of wind and you can't hear the things moving around, because how dense the vegetation is at the moment. You would have easily heard those elephants should there have not been any wind, and you could have guessed as to how many there were. And that's why we moved out straight away. If it wasn't a windy day, we probably would have gone and investigated a little bit further, which was always quite nice. We often do that with elephants, but not on a day like today. But we have come across this wattle, this African wattle, which is Brent's choice of fly swatter. He likes it soft, but I think the guari leaves do a better job at actually putting the flies out of their misery. But something that we have found around here is hippo dung, and you can see it all around here. Oh wow. Just having a look, it's just grass in there. So this is from a male hippo. He's come about on his walkabout at night to go and look for some grass, probably popped into a little mud wallow or something like that. And they'll come here and they'll defecate and they'll swing their tails around and actually scatter the dung all over here. And that by doing that, you're opening up the dung. The scent travels a lot further, but it's relatively old. It doesn't look like a hippo has been here for quite a few weeks. So whoever it is now walking a different pathway, which is nice to know. But remember, at one point we had a hippo that we would see out grazing just in this corner here at Spaghetti Junction. Here we go. Look here, here's the hippo tracks now. Speaking about hippo tracks, so there was one walking here. Probably, this doesn't look like it was from last night, maybe the day before, maybe yesterday evening. Not a particularly big hippo either, because this is even in the mud. So maybe it was a female that came through here, and then of course they don't mark up against the trees. Now, Skip, you're wondering what the most dangerous experience I've had on a bushwalk is. Oh, you've had a couple of encounters. I'm just trying to think. I've had a few interesting encounters with hippos, which are never really fun. But I'll tell you the most scary one I've ever had, and I've told this story before. I actually wasn't even on a bushwalk. I was helping James while he was in the tent, and I was collecting insects, and I had a velvet ant I'd picked up for him. He was going to put it under the microscope. And you'll see as I'm walking, I might not look directly to you in camera. I have to. You have to keep looking around you when you're on a bushwalk. So it's not because I'm nervous or anything. It's just that it is so thick, anything and animals move around, as you see. Also, a big mistake that often guides make is they forget to check behind them. Doesn't mean that something could do a circle and still come from the back of you. So you will see me. It might look like I'm a bit distracted, but I have to. That's what you've got to do. It's bred into me. It's what I've been doing when I first started guiding, and that habit will never leave you. So I was walking about, picked up this velvet ant on my multi-tool and was very carefully carrying it like this, literally looking at it, making sure it doesn't fall off. And I just come from the area, and when I wasn't carrying this insect, I was looking around. And nothing. It was just as the start of the vegetation started to get thick again. Well, I found myself face to face with a big buffalo bull. He was maybe 25 yards, somewhere around there. I forget now. It's all a blur after such a long time. Stumbled across him. He looked at me, I looked at him. He snorted, he shook his head, and I sort of went, hey! And then that didn't do anything, and then he started running towards me. And because I was so close, I had no trees, no natural barriers, nothing, absolutely nothing. Standing there with my velvet ant, threw my multi-tool and the velvet ant into the air, and I just went sprinting towards the tent, which was an equal distance away as the buffalo was to me. I thought, don't know if I can outrun this animal, but I really have no other choice. The flies again are getting me, so that's what I did. Ran. It only took me about 4 steps to get to the tent. I didn't know I could run that fast. It was quite funny. And I dived in and, stood in next to James, watched this buffalo. He stopped and just missed me, turned, looked at us. Myself, James, and David all going, what is he going to do? Is he going to come towards us? Because then we'd have to jump out the windows, and he didn't. He carried on like a bucking bronco away from us, down through the drainage system and out the other side. It was just because he didn't want it, the gap that he'd come through was quite narrow, and he was going towards me, so I was directly in his pathway. I was going the other way, and he didn't want to turn around and run backwards. I don't blame him. There was a fence there, so got a little bit stuck, but it was fine. I came out that one all right. That was the first time I've ever seen my life flash before my eyes before, but I'm here, and I can tell the story. That day I was white and very shaky. You should have seen. Very, very scared after that situation. Definitely got the adrenaline pumping. Now we're going to send you across to Brent, who has found himself at a massive watering hole.
There we go. Another bird for the list of the barn. Swallow. We tried to get one on the airstrip, but that one was too fast. These are cruising over the water at Chitwa. But as you can see, there's not quite surfable waves at the moment, but the wind is howling here. Oof. Very unpleasant. The swallows are loving it though, hawking for insects that are being pushed by the wind. Oh. There's it looks quite miserable today. Man, let's just go move forward a little bit, because the hippo, actually, we don't have to move, we can just zoom. The hippos are not big fans of this weather either, and you can see them all sort of cuddled together at the base of that tree there. You can see the baby sleeping to the left, resting the head up on a mud bank, fast asleep. Now for them, obviously the water is going to be warmer than being out. I can't see any fish eagles today. Let's just try a little bit further forward. I want to have a look at that little overflow where we were catching catfish a few mornings ago. Or just, what is that there? Just, you see that white thing right in front of us? It could be nothing, Craig, but there. Just zoom. A little bit up. Alright, what is that? Let's look. Could just be a funny break in the branch. Oh, while we do that, quickly across to Taylor.
Yes, just a quick glimpse. I just want to show you. Here are some more elephants, which we have stumbled across at Chele Pan. I'm not sure if Jamie was here earlier, Now there's a youngster coming towards us, but they're having a drink at the moment. I just wanted to show you them very quickly. Whether they're part of the group that we saw earlier, I'm not so certain, because those elephants were going west. So I think it was the bulls that were probably tailing behind this breeding herd, and now they've decided that they're finished. Probably a matriarch wasn't too happy with them being around the herd, is what normally happens, and she sent them packing in the opposite direction. But they're moving away from us, which is good. Like I said, the wind is swirling quite a bit, so we're not going to go close, we're not going to go anywhere near them. I just wanted to show you, have a quick little look. They seem to be quite relaxed as well, which is really, really nice. No trumpeting, we haven't heard any of that, no panicking, nothing along those lines. And now all we will do is we'll just give them a couple of minutes to decide which direction that they're going to go on. After a drink, they're going to start feeding a bit, might be munching around the watering hole where the vegetation is quite well. But again, we can't see anything over there, so we're uncertain. We're just going to make sure that we keep putting vegetation between us and that type of thing, and take it easy and be safe. Normally, on a nice sunny day when the conditions are perfect, it would be alright to go a little bit closer if we had the wind in our favor, the most important thing. But on a day like today, we're just bumping these animals. We're not going to take any chances. Have a quick look and move off. No point getting yourself stuck into a situation. But very cool, isn't it? Nice to see them after they've been quite upset most of the morning, that they've settled down slightly. But we're going to carry on. We're going to start heading back towards quarantine now. And Jamie's going to go and check that hyena den for a second time. I hope that they've come out, Jamie.
Me too, Taylor. I hope they've come out as well. I mean, it was lovely to spend some time with some elephants, but they didn't want to stay with us. I'm hoping that the hyenas will be our saving grace of our morning safari. Even the birds keep flying away, the animals keep running away. Let's go and see whether or not the hyenas are out and about. Oh. Jigger's gentle suspension rocking us a lullaby. Hey Dave, we'll put it that way, rather than jerking your back around. Okay, one more time with feeling. Let's see who's home. Now we've got to do the delicate dance around all of the fallen trees now. So many hyena tracks this morning. I can't believe we didn't manage to find one. No tracks on top of my tracks, but that's okay. Ribbon usually uses the pathway from this side to come into the den. Every time I've seen her arrive or leave, she's come from the western side, not the northern side. Which also makes me wonder whether or not there are more hyenas elsewhere. Possibly, maybe utilizing a den site further in? I don't know. Okay, everybody, think positive hyena-themed thoughts, not shorts. Although hyena-themed shorts would be amazing. But think hyena-themed shorts. Thoughts, no, man. You know what I mean. Yes! I think I see an ear twitch. I'm relatively certain I saw an ear twitch. Are we going to be lucky? Yes, we are. Thank you, Ribbon. Okay, let's come in nice and slow. Hello, my big girl. Oh, and babies. Thank goodness for that. Hello. All right, girl. I'm going to stop here. Much like our elephants and our other animals, Ribbon looking a little bit unsettled as to whether or not that's connected. Hello. To whatever happened last night. There you can see that nasty wound on her bottom, just next to her tail, on Ribbon's side. I saw that a few days ago, so it's not fresh, but it is quite deep. No, don't go inside. I know it's cold. There we go. There's the two little monsters. Oh, that's actually a very good point. I'm going to just share where we saw those elephants so that Taylor doesn't go running into them. They were quite close to the Balashon mobile, into that thick patch between Rebecca's and western edge of quarantine. They were all running in there. There was also another herd that was quite upset on, sounded like Impala Road, Ballinites Junction. But one of the elephant bulls did veer off to the south, so they should be quite careful that they don't go wandering into them in weather like this. Sorry everybody, just had to clarify that through Louise to make sure that our walking team doesn't find themselves in trouble. Hello you two. Having a jolly good sniff around. When are you going to get brave enough to come and say hello? Is that the light or is that a funny murky eye? Must just be the light. Must be the way the light is hitting it. Be very odd for such a young hyena to have an eye problem. That doesn't look normal. Have you got a cataract or something? Or an injury to the eye? That eye does look cloudy to me. Oh, you get a bone all around the den. And all the old bones from the old kills that were dragged back to the Philemon's cutline den make for the perfect chew toy. No, I want it, it's mine. Goodbye. Naturally, we see it with the lion cubs, we see it with the hyena as well, and you see it with human beings. When one of them has something, even if the other was not in any way vaguely interested in it beforehand, immediately the other one wants it. It's like children in a playground, or siblings that are close in age. Doesn't matter that you showed absolutely no interest in it before. As soon as one of the others grabs it, then you want it. I'm talking about you, yes I am. Did you lose your bone? That's so disappointing. They're growing up so fast. They already got their spots coming through properly. In the last few days, I noticed them really clearly on their legs. Now you can actually start to see them showing through on their sides as well. I do think we were slightly underestimated the age of these cubs when we first saw them. I think we forgot what tiny hyena cubs look like. I think they must be closer to 6 weeks. I want it. It's mine. Give it to me. Well, and gone again. Oh, stolen. No. You know that there are several other bones that you can chew around this den. And I know you know that. Fine, if I can't have it, I'll bite you. Ouch. Sure. They've got strong and dragging each other about. Proper sibling rivalry over a bone that they both want. You might see some tug of war. And the thing about this bone shard is that it's one end is good for gripping, the other one's more difficult. Aha. It's mine. Don't touch it. Grimace of pain there from the other hyena cub. Bulldozed back into the den. Oh, but up again. Distracted completely, now just using Mom as a jungle gym. Their favorite game. So sweet. I think there was a question in there from Louise. But we'll wait for her to gather her thoughts once again before she repeats. There we go. Thank you, Lou. Second time lucky. Marco, you want to know about a hyena mating ritual. How long does it take? Is there lots of flirting, like with the cats, or is it instant action? There is actually a courtship period, and of course it becomes once again, or falls once again upon the males to approach the females, rather than with big cats where you've got it the other way around, and often it's the females that are very flirty. Sorry, the saga of the bone is keeping me thoroughly entertained, dashing backwards and forwards. And the mating itself actually does require an extended courtship period because of the bizarre anatomy of the female hyena. So it takes time for her to get ready into that state where she can actually mate, and that penetration can occur. The sort of the pseudo penis, that fused vaginal and urinary tract, have to invert essentially. So there is an extended. As for how long it takes, it depends on if there are other males around as well. If there's a little bit of fighting and scuffling over her, and then it isn't as quick as a cat, so it's not as rapid at mating. I'm just thinking, oh, squeak! Somebody got hurt there. I'm wondering whether we shouldn't try shuffle forward ever so slightly, just to give a slightly clearer view. Lou says yes. Squeak, squeak. I'm scared though if we go all the way around, it's out actually. Let me just try and get a bit closer. Sorry, Marco, can I continue that on your question in a sec? Let me just find ourselves a good spot. And very relevant because, as we said, we think we heard them mating last night. Do you feel the rain yet, Dave? I can feel it. What do you mean no? It's drizzling on our faces. Not on yours. How come I've got it? Did I just drive through the one patch of rain? Ah, there it is. How's that, Dave? Can you see if I go forward a bit? I think we're going to put the bush in the way if we... This is pretty good. Sorry. It's become an awkward den site. It never used to be, but with the elephants that have pushed over all of the trees... Oh, you're so curious. Come on. It's time you came up and said hello to us. I'm trying to duck down, hide from the wind. All right, Marco, sorry, I was distracted. So yes, the courtship does take quite a long time, and they've found, interestingly enough, in studies that it's submissive males that tend to have more luck, which actually makes complete sense when you think about the way that hyenas interact with each other. But the mating itself is probably more dog-like than cat-like. They assume the same position, and the females don't generally lie down. But as I said, it takes quite a while for her to be ready so that the male can actually get to that point that penetration can occur. It's a very tricky business. The whole reproductive nature of spotted hyenas is rather complex and a bit bizarre and a bit counterintuitive when we think about them in comparison to other mammals. Because then, once that female is pregnant, now she's also got to give birth through that very narrow tract. So it seems counterintuitive, but obviously, evolutionary for hyenas, it worked. That the benefits outweighed the disadvantages. Somebody's won the bone completely, the other one's now distracted by the prospect of breakfast with mum. This is the perfect chew toy for itchy, burny gums. Arthur, that's a really good question. Where does the stigma come from that is so clearly attached to spotted hyenas? Because whilst we have a tendency to blame popular media and things like The Lion King, which of course did not depict hyenas in a particularly favourable light, it's not entirely fair because the history goes back a lot longer than that. And you'll find that they have been seen as a creature with a very negative stigma long before colonial people arrived in different parts of Africa. And you're wondering if I know anything about the history of it. I don't know the full history of it. Yes, I'm talking about you. I'm sorry to tell you this at your young age, but lots of people don't like you. Yes, I know, it's unfair, isn't it? Even with that cute face, lots of people just can't stand you. And it remains that way, and there are some people in the world who just cannot stand spotted hyenas. I think personally, Arthur, there's something about their posture and the way that they do go about things that's led to this really unpleasant belief in these animals. Their sloping backs, the fact that they do scavenge, although of course not recently, of course we now know that hyenas are very capable hunters, but if they can scavenge they will, just like any other creature out here. It just so happens that they're so numerous that the chances of seeing them scavenging is so much higher. And they're bigger than pretty things like leopards, and let's face it, they're not as beautiful to the ordinary eye than something like a leopard or a lion. I think they're beautiful, but I am biased. I think historically it's a combination of the sloping body posture that really doesn't help them. It's not like a leopard or a lion slinking through the grass. They look as though they're up to mischief. I think also their high intelligence levels have made them more of a pest than other creatures. And their boldness, their natural curiosity, means that for people sleeping out in the open at night, a foolish decision always, they're probably going to be the predator that inflict the most injuries, just because they're the most intelligent, and therefore the most likely to approach out of curiosity. And they can't exactly explore their world like we can with our hands and our fingers and our thumbs. They explore everything, as you can see with these hyena cubs, by using their mouths. And unfortunately, sometimes that means people as well. It's unfortunate because they're such complex, such intelligent creatures, and they have a stigma attached to them that is very, very hard to break. And yes, they kill other predators' cubs. So does every other predator out here if they have the opportunity. It does happen. It's like the lions and the wild dogs. You can't really just take the good aspects of nature. That one cub is making such a begging noise while it suckles. It's so cute. Also, Potato, you want to know whether or not the mother will show any kind of a preference for males or female cubs. Not that I've ever observed. She doesn't interfere, which means that the female cub, if there is one female and one male, the female will run riot over the male cub and become more and more dominant, often bullying him, grabbing him by the ears, shaking him around. Hello, gorgeous mom. You're such a beautiful ribbon. But there's a difference really in the way that the female treats them until they are fully grown. After that, naturally, she will treat the male cub as a more submissive member of the hyena clan, which he, of course, will already have learnt and behave in that natural way. Interestingly enough, I found the interactions with Madam and her son Bella quite interesting. And what I mean by that is, even after Bella had her cubs, her second set of cubs that I saw, and Bella was basically a sub-adult and independent, often when there was some kind of fight, when there was some kind of disciplining happening, and Madam was involved front and center, her son was there with her, following along, showing a huge amount of interest, and she never turned around and took out her frustrations on him or was angry with him. And I just found that interesting. It doesn't mean that she's going to treat them differently. What's wrong, girl? She's hearing something. Oh, it's an elephant. Oh, whoopsie. No, cubs. Stay inside. Uh-oh. You go inside. Oh, now they cross. What an unfortunate time of arrival, elephants. Angry illies everywhere. I don't know where Bushwalk is, but perhaps might be prudent to let them know as well that a herd of elephants has just come wandering in. Hi, big girls. Ribbon immediately disappeared. You see the natural behavior of the cubs, and here comes the parade of elephants behind us. We'll just sit here nice and still and pretend we're not here. Hello. Actually, I'm not going to go with the pretense. I'm just going to let them know, full stop, we are here. Hi, big girls. Don't get a fright. Nobody get a fright. Everybody stay cool. It's okay. Ribbon's coming back. No, girl, there's still another bull there who's coming up behind you. Don't worry. Your cubs know what to do. They'll stay nice and quiet. Don't you worry. Shame, look at the anxiety in her body language. She can outrun them, and they're not really a threat to her cubs either. They're not going to try and dig them out or anything like that. Or if they did, I would be very, very surprised. Don't worry, girl, you're going to get chased. You're going to get chased. Another big cow moving up at the back. Dave, it seems as though no matter where we go, we're going to encounter upset elephants this morning. I love watching the body language of both species. The stiff tail of the females, and then Ribbon's anxious protection of the entrance to her den. Oops, one of them nearly snuck up behind her. My head's operating on a swivel at the moment to make sure we don't attract any dissatisfaction ourselves. Dave, I need you to... Okay, no, it's all right. I'm just making sure we don't have one coming up the other side of us. Okay. Strange things happen at hyena dens. Ooh. Where's that tree being pushed over? Preferably not over the den. No, it's on the other side. I don't know where Ribbon went. She's just disappeared off. Sometimes you just got to sit in one place, you know? The Ellies are there. You can see them forming that tight formation. That big female is particularly angry with life at the moment, taking on the responsibility of protecting the herd on windy conditions. Right, well, we're going to sit patiently with our elephant-hyena interaction and elephant bulls fighting each other. Actually, no, we're not. We're going to disappear. While we do that, let's send you over to Brent for the last few minutes.
Well, welcome back. We are hoping to get 1 or 2 bird species. We haven't got to 60 yet, and if this cold front continues, it's going to be really tough to get to 100 birds, but we shall try. And of course, wasn't that exciting? Hyenas and elephants in the same sighting. Poor Ribbon being chased off by those elephants. Naughty elephants, naughty, naughty. Of course, it seems to be warming up a little bit. The wind is still really, really blowing or gusting, and hopefully it doesn't matter if it stays overcast, but hopefully the wind calms down a bit for the sunset safari. Who knows, maybe Queen Karula will make appearance, the Nkuhumas, maybe some wild dogs. That is the wonderful thing about live safaris. We literally cannot predict what is going to happen next or what's going to be around 1 hour from the next. Well, it's a bird we've got, but a pretty bird nonetheless, and sitting, oh no, he was sitting, he has flown away in the wind. There's some zebra and impala on quarantine. Maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe there's a yellow-billed oxpecker on the zebras. Hello, guys. Well, there are oxpeckers on the zebras, but what flavor they are? They look like red bulls there. Yellow bulls are quite a bit bigger. Look at that. Hello, zebs. You see the oxpeckers on the back there? Yes, too small for yellow-billed red bills. We've got them on our list, but always lovely to see. And everyone's going to be a bit jumpy. And the wind is picking up. It's actually stronger than when we started this morning. Now, it will give the animals a bit of a respite from the biting flies because they're not able to fly in this wind. Oh, look at that zebra in the front. How many oxpeckers is on its back? All the oxpeckers are on the front zebra. There's a whole 2-3 families. Now, as I said, hopefully we'll find some cats at the sunset safari. So it's good hunting weather, so hopefully they'll be around. But otherwise, we'll be ready to take you on another African adventure like we do for 6 hours every day. It's always great having you on the back of the vehicle. And from myself and some very skittish impala and zebra on quarantine clearings that are hoping Karula doesn't come this way. Of course, we're hoping she does. We're going to say goodbye. Batman, any last words?
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Okay, well, let's have a look at these wonderful animals for the last few seconds.